Subaru turns on the stream and sees his own name everywhere. Narukami Subaru, the legendary hero. Except the world's worshipping a lie. The man who carried humanity, who tanked every raid, who burned his life away predicting futures so everyone else could live? Yeah, they stabbed him in the back and sealed him with the final boss. He died. Over and over. Burned, crushed, torn apart. Literally every possible future ended with him dead. And when he wakes up 20 years later, his killers are saints, his name's a brand, and his truth is buried. So now Subaru's done being silent. This time, he's climbing again, but live, on stream, and everyone's going to watch history get rewritten. The story starts in a freezing, icy place where a massive blizzard rages non-stop, and a large group of people stands in an area known as the Deadlands, which is actually the 8th floor of a tall tower. Many soldiers march together in perfect order, moving as one unit toward the goal of conquering the 8th floor, and among them is a strong, muscular man wearing a long brown coat made of fur. Before entering the floor, he raises his hand and stops all the soldiers, warning them that since they are about to face the guardian of the 8th floor, they need to stay extremely careful. This man is revealed to be Itsuki Kyojo, a rank 6 Blue Zone Guildmaster, and he reminds everyone that even though this is a joint raid, no one should relax or take things lightly, because if they fail here, reaching the 9th floor will be impossible. The soldiers listen quietly while keeping their formation, and suddenly they step aside to clear a path, leaving Itsuki shocked to see who has arrived. A full team of adventurers appears, calling out to him, and their team, called Blue Eyes, is made up of mysterious men and women, with a leader wearing a tight mask that completely covers his face. This masked man is Subaru Narukami, the Guildmaster of Blue Eyes, and Itsuki is happy to see him as Subaru apologizes for arriving late, though Itsuki knows Subaru has actually been there from the start and that his alliance has chosen to join the raid. Itsuki announces that Subaru will lead the attack while the rest of the martial alliance follows, and when Itsuki mentions picking up scraps, Subaru calmly takes an item from his cloak and hands it to him. It is a glowing red pendant known as the legendary artifact Archangel's Blessing, and the system explains that it can only be used once, requires level 50 or higher, and instantly restores half of a person's fatigue when it reaches its limit. Itsuki is stunned by such a rare item, but Subaru says he wants the raid to succeed and wants Itsuki to have a backup plan, then gently asks if Itsuki wants to return to Earth after the battle, saying the pendant can be returned later. Itsuki becomes emotional, and Subaru teases him kindly, but suddenly a huge noise shakes the area, and both of them turn in shock as the 8th floor guardian appears. It is called the Venom Dragon Hydra, a terrifying monster with many heads capable of tearing humans apart easily, and as Itsuki orders everyone to prepare, Subaru insults the beast and rushes forward with lightning energy surging through his body. Enraged, the Hydra responds by forming a massive ball of water energy from its open mouth, and although Itsuki tells everyone to take cover, Subaru says it is not needed. Subaru steps forward, lifts his sword, and prepares to face the many-headed monster alone. And when the huge attack rushes toward the team, he charges ahead and draws his lightning sword, splitting the incoming energy beam down the middle with one strike. The force shocks the giant Hydra, which is far larger than the humans before it, and even Itsuki is surprised, though he knows Subaru often pushes himself too far, while the team feels relieved because Subaru's hard training has finally paid off. Another teammate tries to strike first but is too slow, and a female teammate asks Subaru about the item he gave Itsuki earlier. But Subaru only says she will find out later before asking if everyone is ready and reminding them that they have to kill the sea monster Hydra. The team gathers their strength, knowing they must clear the cruel 8th floor, as Itsuki watches silently from behind with a mocking smile and mutters about how well they act like close friends. Soon, the soldier's captain confirms that all troops are in position. Itsuki praises him and orders the advance, and his masked assistant replies at once, wishing him success. Itsuki's followers move with strange speed, while a healer with a staff stands in front of him, and chaos breaks out as everyone attacks the massive dragon, whose roars shake the arena. A fast female fighter rushes forward, shouting for everyone to attack with full power, lightly cuts the dragon, and jokes that it feels easy, while nearby an ice mage complains about the heavy pressure of the battle. A warrior covered in red energy charges in, betting on who will deal the most damage, and strikes the beast hard, and Toshia accepts the bet, saying the loser will pay for dinner, then attacks at incredible speed, cutting off one of the dragon's heads and warning Chino as it falls toward her. Chino calmly tells him to keep attacking while she prepares a spell, raises a large pink magic shield, blocks the falling head, and says defense is her duty. But suddenly, Itsuki appears behind her and coldly asks if she can block. This too. Without hesitation, he stabs through her back and chest, blaming their overconfidence, and Subaru turns in horror, crying her name in disbelief as Chino collapses dead in her own blood at Itsuki's feet. Smiling wildly, Itsuki tells Subaru not to look away, and Subaru stands frozen, questioning the betrayal as the dragon attacks him. ending with a painful scream. Subaru remembers the day when strange system messages suddenly appear, messages that say the tower has chosen everyone and ordered them to climb it to begin a new future. That is the first message ever sent by the tower, which stands like a giant in the middle of space, and no one knows if it is a blessing or a disaster, while even now people still do not fully understand its meaning. However, the tower does not allow refusal, so everyone has no choice but to climb, and people keep moving upward, hoping to reach the top, a place no one has ever seen. Fighters from many worlds, including Earth and Buran, enter the tower carrying their own hopes, pain, and goals, and day after day they struggle to survive and complete missions. But reality is cruel. Subaru now stands alone in a blood-soaked field, surrounded by the dead bodies of his friends, and the sight feels like a terrible nightmare as he breathes heavily and looks around. The red dragon Hydra has been killed, a monster once thought impossible to defeat, yet instead of joy, Subaru feels anger and regret, blaming his comrades for ignoring his retreat order and believing they might still be alive if they had listened. Completely drained, he collapses near the dragon's corpse, whispering bitter words to the dead, as system warnings appear telling him he is poisoned and can no longer recover, and that his fatigue is close to the deadly limit. As he wonders about his fate, Itsuki approaches him with a cold smile and mocks him, and Subaru demands to know why he is betrayed. Itsuki admits he has waited 10 years for this, and has used the Blue Eyes Guild as tools, choosing the world over friendship, mocking Subaru with the Archangel's blessing and announcing his end. Subaru smiles weakly, knowing he will die, but refuses to fall, and using his last strength he stands up and grabs the legendary Aiolos, blasting the 4 surviving guild members far away with a final attack and shouting for them to live. Realizing the plan, Itsuki orders his soldiers to chase them, and the Buran warriors rush forward to follow orders, but Subaru steps in front of them like a solid wall that cannot be broken. Lightning gathers in his hand, crackling loudly, forcing the warriors to stop and face him, while his fatigue is already at 95% and thunder rolls across the sky, showing his lightning power is close to its limit. A huge pillar of golden lightning falls from above, turning the battlefield into a storm filled with electricity, as Itsuki watches with a tense smile and mocks Subaru for refusing to give up. When Subaru's fatigue reaches 96%, he charges forward, his body glowing with a dangerous aura, wondering what reward Itsuki has offered these soldiers to make them fight someone like him. Facing the enemies, Subaru warns them that attacking him will cost their lives, his eyes shining brightly as he declares that no one can leave without his permission, despite his many wounds. Knowing they have no escape, the soldiers scream and attack together, and Subaru blocks and strikes back skillfully, even though these fighters are normally very strong, his biggest worry being Itsuki stepping in and ending everything instantly, yet he feels relieved that his comrades are now far away. His fatigue climbs to 97 and then 98% as the fight continues, until a heavy hit knocks him back and the soldiers surround him, slashing from all sides as blood flies and they celebrate, believing Subaru is dead. Then, Subaru's calm voice speaks from the dust, asking who they think they have killed, and his golden eyes appear as lightning explodes from his body, throwing all the soldiers away and leaving their bodies falling around him as Subaru drops to his knees, completely exhausted. The remaining soldiers back away in fear, calling him a monster who refuses to die, while Itsuki watches coldly as Subaru's fatigue hits 99% and a warning of death appears. Using his last strength, Subaru throws a final lightning spear that shatters Itsuki's artifact, and as darkness takes him, Subaru awakens inside a filthy garbage bin, staring in shock at a blue screen showing a new name and level. Soon after, broken memories rush back to him, in which several young men mock him for being an earthling with weak abilities, laughing and telling him to at least try to be like the legendary Subaru Narukami from 20 years ago, causing Subaru to freeze as a voice in his head tells him he died long ago. When he sees his reflection in broken glass, he realizes the face is not his own, leaving him confused and shaken, and panicking. He climbs out of the trash bin, collapses on the ground, and notices a player tablet nearby. He searches for information about the Blue Eyes Guild and learns it no longer exists, replaced by a weak guild called Blue Zone that claims Subaru's legacy. And while reading the news, he sees a statement from Guildmaster Itsuki, now older and wearing an eye patch, proving the traitor survived. Memories return of Itsuki once saying he wants to leave the guild and remain Subaru's shadow, and bitterly Subaru realizes Itsuki has named his guild Blue Zone and still failed to climb higher. Walking through the city, Subaru discovers the Subaru Narukami Memorial Hall filled with statues and praise calling him a hero, and watching Itsuki speak at the opening while claiming Blue Zone carries Subaru's ideals, Subaru burns with anger, knowing Itsuki has twisted his death and legacy, and he quietly vows to rewrite this false history himself. Subaru stands still, staring ahead with strong and determined eyes, promising himself that he will never again let Itsuki deceive him or change the truth, and swearing that he will not waste this strange second chance at life. While he is lost in his thoughts, a small boy suddenly bumps into him from behind, falls to the ground, and Subaru quickly kneels down to help him, gently asking if he is hurt. When the boy lifts his head, Subaru freezes in shock because the child is wearing Subaru's old mask, and before Subaru can react, the boy's parents hurry over, calling him Minato and checking him anxiously, while Subaru calmly tells them it is only a small accident. However, what truly stuns him is what he notices next, because it is not only Minato but many people around them who are wearing the same mask, Subaru's mask, with some holding it carefully in their hands and others wearing it proudly on their faces as if they are part of a holy ritual. Subaru rubs his face in disbelief, seeing people everywhere honoring the mask he once wore in battle, as Itsuki's mocking words echo in his mind about Subaru becoming an eternal hero even after death. And only now does Subaru fully understand that Itsuki has rewritten history and turned him into a false legend while hiding the truth of his betrayal. Subaru's eyes fall on a large shrine-like portrait of himself wearing the mask, surrounded by flowers and candles, looking like a grand funeral tribute made for a saint, and his teeth clench as he realizes the entire event is a performance created by Itsuki to steal the glory of the Blue Eyes Guild. Suddenly, Subaru notices a faint blue light glowing among the flowers, pushes through the crowd while ignoring their complaints, reaches the altar, kneels down, and picks up a glowing blue flower filled with weak energy that he immediately recognizes as belonging to Asagiri Shigure. At the same time, on a nearby rooftop, two figures watch the scene as Shigure sighs in relief, thankful another year has passed safely, while his companion warns him they are being careless and could have run into Blue Zone members if they were late, questioning why they risk coming every year just to leave flowers. Shigure answers that it is necessary, hoping Subaru will one day see them, and when she asks if he truly believes Subaru is alive, Shigure says he cannot accept Subaru's death without seeing the body, to which she replies that Subaru would not stay hidden for 20 years. Back on the street, Subaru leaves the memorial quickly, holding the glowing flower tightly, and later in his small, dark room, he searches his tablet and confirms the truth that Shigure is alive and that Itsuki must have forced them into hiding. Subaru remembers the huge explosion from their final battle and wonders if only Shigure survived or if the powerful winds he created saved all four of his comrades. But for now there is no way to contact them, and as long as Itsuki controls everything, trying to reach out will only lead to death. Subaru stands by the window and admits how weak he is at this moment, knowing he cannot fight Itsuki, cannot protect anyone, and cannot even reveal who he truly is, and realizing that to move forward he must regain his strength first, as that is the only choice. Guided by Subaru's memories, 2 days pass as he quietly prepares himself, and soon after the preliminary training for new players begins, with Subaru standing while holding a sword and carefully examining its blade with serious eyes, reminding himself that surviving is the most important thing, because if his comrades are alive, he will meet them again someday. The scene moves to the testing arena, a huge hall, where Supervisor Huger watches the trainees with clear boredom and irritation as one trainee finishes defeating a monster and breathes heavily, prompting Huger to coldly say the trainee barely succeeds and ask if he wants to try the next stage. A system message explains that each stage adds another goblin but increases the rewards, and terrified the trainee refuses, saying even 3 goblins are impossible, causing Huger to wave him away in annoyance. As Huger looks at the weak trainees, he thinks of Isaac von Reinhardt, the only one who reaches stage 20, noting that at least Isaac has talent, while the rest disappoint him badly, and he mutters that the quality of recruits has never been worse. Then he hears calm footsteps approaching as Subaru walks forward, and Huger glances at him, commenting that the name Subaru Hosoi feels heavy compared to how ordinary he looks and doubting he will pass, while Subaru simply nods calmly. When the system summons 2 goblins, Huger starts to announce the test, but suddenly a powerful gust rushes past him, startling him as he turns his head and realizes he has not seen anything move. Subaru now stands in the center of the arena, smiling confidently as blood drips around him, knowing the 2 days spent testing this body are worth it because this body has incredible hidden talent. When the system asks if he wishes to continue, Subaru agrees instantly, and goblins keep dying in seconds with their heads flying as Huger watches closely and realizes Subaru is predicting attacks far ahead, moving with precision even Huger cannot match. As Subaru clears stage 49 and accepts the final challenge, the ground shatters and a giant boss appears, causing Huger to scream in panic as he rushes forward and shouts that Subaru will die if he continues. Subaru stands firmly in the middle of the arena, surrounded by piles of dead goblins, while the huge Goblin King stands before him, overflowing with rage as if it can feel every sacrifice made during the previous 49 stages. From the edge of the arena, Huger shouts desperately, begging Subaru to give up before it is too late, repeatedly saying that fighting the Goblin King at such a low level is nothing but suicide. Hyuga reminds himself that no amount of skill or talent can overcome the massive physical gap between a beginner and a monster this powerful, and Subaru understands this clearly, knowing his current strength is far too low to break the Goblin King's thick skin. Even so, he refuses to step back and instead calmly lets his sword slip from his hand and fall to the ground, pushing Hyuga close to panic as he believes Subaru has lost his mind by throwing away his only weapon. The Goblin King charges forward, swinging with enough force to crush him, but suddenly the monster stops when it feels a sharp pain in its leg as a thin needle pierces it. Subaru kneels nearby calmly, holding several needles between his fingers, mockingly asking if the Goblin King is surprised, saying they can make a simple bet on who will fall first and warning the monster that he will fill its body with needles before it can reach him. A faint blue light appears in Subaru's eyes as he launches his planned attack, and the needles fly like lightning, striking the Goblin King's eyes and face with perfect accuracy, causing it to scream in pain. Blinded and furious, the monster swings its giant axe wildly, smashing the ground, while Subaru moves lightly around it, avoiding every attack as if floating. When he pauses, Subaru remembers old lessons about rotation and throwing power taught by Miss Rina, who once scolds him and says even a pen can become deadly if thrown correctly. And using those teachings, he strikes the monster's weak points again and again. The Goblin King staggers, blood pouring out as its body becomes filled with needles, while Hyuga watches in shock, realizing the exam itself is collapsing before his eyes as Subaru uses poison needles left behind from earlier battles, combining skill, prediction, and clever thinking. As the Goblin King finally collapses and dies, Subaru picks up his sword, shows no hatred, and finishes it, and system messages appear announcing the boss's defeat and the clearing of stage 50 for the first time ever. Subaru wipes his sweat and mutters about how cruel it is to place such a monster in a beginner tutorial. As more system messages appear showing his level has increased, his credits have gone up, and a huge amount of achievement points has been added. Then the message he cares about most appears, stating the tutorial shop is now open, and when Subaru checks his points and sees the number 2425, he freezes in shock because it is far more than he ever sees in his past life. As he looks through the shop, he notices most normal items cost between 5 and 200 points, meaning he has plenty to spend, and his eyes stop on a strange demon sword that costs 1,000 points, a rare weapon made by a failed magic blacksmith that increases cutting power but drains the user's health and soul. Subaru feels tempted, but reminds himself that his lightning skill already consumes his life force, making using both extremely dangerous, and he then looks at the holy sword Miranda, which costs 1,400 points and helps reduce fatigue and extend fighting time, feeling safer, but not fully satisfying him. As he continues scrolling, he finds an unexpected F-rank skill called Wedge of Greed, also priced at 1,400 points, which can suppress the side effects of any skill or item used, leaving Subaru stunned as he has never seen a skill like this before. He quickly understands its value, knowing it can weaken the demon sword's curse and ease the strain of his lightning power, and without hesitation, he buys both the demon sword and Wedge of Greed, later confirming through testing that the combination works exactly as he hopes. Hyuga interrupts, praising Subaru's compatibility but questioning why he chooses such a strange skill, and Subaru replies with boredom, avoiding an explanation and annoying Hyuga, before pretending to apologize and saying he struggles with polite speech. Hyuga calms himself, blaming fatigue, while Subaru suddenly remembers that Hyuga was once a young fan who asked for his autograph long ago, and as Hyuga continues lecturing, Subaru ignores him. When pressed again, Subaru claims exam rules stop him from answering, and when Hyuga angrily tries to recruit him, Subaru refuses instantly. A system prompt asks Subaru if he wishes to move to the second floor, and he accepts, vanishes, and leaves Hyuga behind in frustration, arriving in the busy city of beginnings feeling sure of his return and quietly swearing revenge for his fallen comrades. Subaru walks to the training building to test his new equipment and asks the old clerk at the desk for a private room, and the man looks at him with tired eyes and slowly asks which floor he has come from. Subaru replies that he has just climbed up, so the clerk assumes he is a beginner visiting for the first time, points down the hallway, and suggests room 1, explaining that it only has a straw dummy and will match Subaru's level. Subaru instead asks for room 5, making the clerk stare as if he hears wrong, and the man honestly warns him that room 5 is far too difficult and will only waste money, advising him again to choose room 1. Subaru thanks him but insists on room 5 for 30 minutes, pays 50 credits, and walks away while the clerk mutters that he will not refund anything if Subaru quits early. As Subaru moves deeper inside, the rooms become tougher, shifting from simple dummies to rocks and heavy materials, and other trainees look at him with scorn. Inside room 5, Subaru shuts the iron door and stands quietly, then draws the unknown demon sword, which glows red as soon as it recognizes him. Crimson energy bursts out, draining his health and mana to greatly increase his strength, and the Wedge of Greed skill activates, trying to reduce the damage, but at level 1 it cannot fully block the backlash, causing Subaru's fatigue to rise. He realizes the skill is still too weak, yet each bit of health lost makes his power surge higher, and deciding this is expected, Subaru spends 10,000 credits to upgrade the skill. At level 2, it resists the sword better, though it still feeds on him, and feeling the huge power flow, Subaru leaps into the air, satisfied with the test. Outside, the clerk nearly falls asleep, until Subaru suddenly exits room 5 after only 10 minutes, and shocked, the man rushes inside and freezes at the sight of the destroyed room, with cracked walls and a giant rock sliced in half. Later, Subaru wakes in his hotel room, then sits drinking coffee and reviewing the test, confirming that the sword and skill work perfectly together while imagining how powerful it will be once combined with lightning. Subaru's confidence drops when he checks his remaining credits and sees that he has barely 50 left, far from the 20,000 needed for another upgrade, and he sighs sadly, wondering if this body has always lived in poverty. His thoughts are suddenly broken by a loud voice filling the lobby, and Subaru turns to see a young man with cat ears streaming live, excitedly talking about his adventures on the second floor and his early days in the tower. Soon, a donation of 1,000 credits appears on the screen, making the streamer shout in joy, and in his excitement, he spills hot coffee on himself but acts calm and polite to impress his viewers. Subaru stares in shock, wondering if people have lost their minds. And curious, he searches about live streaming and learns that 1 out of 3 players earns credits this way, realizing the man is basically begging through entertainment and wondering if this is how people survive now. Before he can read more, someone calls his name, and Subaru turns to see a well-dressed young man approaching him and asking if he has also climbed up and where he is staying. Subaru feels an uncomfortable reaction in his body, as if the original owner has bad memories tied to this person, and the man speaks arrogantly and warns Subaru not to ignore him. When he introduces himself as Isaac, the discomfort becomes clear, and Subaru replies stiffly that he has just climbed up, while Isaac laughs cruelly and says he expects someone as weak as Subaru to die to the first goblin. Memories rush into Subaru's mind as he sees the past Subaru trembling while Isaac insults him, mocks his name, accuses him of being useless, and says he is begging for sympathy as an orphan. Subaru remembers crying and trying to explain that his credits are not enough, but Isaac ignores him, beats him, calls him trash, forces him to hide in a box, and threatens worse if he leaves, and Subaru now understands why this body has been living in a garbage bin. Back in the present, Isaac brags about clearing 20 stages, impressing Supervisor Huger, and earning a B-rank skill, then demands a drink, and Subaru coldly says he is leaving. Isaac orders him to buy cheap coffee, but Subaru says he has no credits and tells Isaac to buy his own, and when Subaru tries to leave, Isaac grabs his arm and threatens him, prompting Subaru to look at him sharply and warn him to let go if he values his safety. Subaru knows that starting a fight in such a crowded place will only put him at a disadvantage, so he forces himself to stay calm as Isaac suddenly bursts into loud laughter and says he is only joking, claiming he just wants to scare Subaru like he used to before. He lets go of Subaru's arm and mocks him, calling him a weak coward who has not changed at all, then continues teasing him by saying it is obvious Subaru must have barely survived the tutorial. Subaru stays silent, realizing that his body's reaction is not emotional, but instinctive, while Isaac steps closer with a cold smile and asks if Subaru really thinks about fighting him. He reminds Subaru of his powerful father and says he can make him disappear without anyone ever finding out, then walks away with a mocking laugh, calling him a friend, as if it is a joke. Subaru stands still, anger quietly burning inside him as he repeats the word friend with bitter sarcasm. The story then explains the tower's growth system, which has 2 main paths, with one being completing tower trials in virtual space, where players gain experience and rewards safely since failure only means losing progress and credits, not their lives, and the second being real-world hunting, where players fight monsters outside safe zones or inside real dungeons, allowing much faster growth but carrying absolute danger. Because death there is real death, which is why most players avoid hunting despite the greater rewards. Inside the dark entrance of an orc nest, the walls echo with the sounds of hidden creatures as Subaru sits beside the body of a giant monster he has just killed, exhausted but smiling faintly while admitting that safety is slow and danger is fast. He checks his tablet and is shocked to see a live stream of someone pretending to be him, wearing Subaru's old mask and greeting over 80,000 viewers while announcing a third-floor challenge, filling Subaru with disgust at how his image is being used. A mission titled Narukami Subaru is a Fool appears offering 20,000 credits, and the fake accepts it excitedly as more ridiculous missions with huge rewards follow, prompting Subaru to compare this easy money to his own 50 credits before sighing and standing up to fight again. Facing a new wave of orcs, the orc general appears, and Subaru activates Wedge of Greed, lets his sword drain his health, and attacks fiercely, killing the boss with a single powerful strike as a system message appears confirming the dungeon has been cleared, and Subaru stands inside the destroyed nest, knowing he has won. Later, he takes out his old mask and stares at it seriously, understanding he will need to wear it again, and standing in front of a mirror he puts the mask on and finally understands how streamers make their money, deciding that if he is going to stream, he will do it seriously and give it his full effort. He starts a broadcast titled Narukami Subaru, immediately causing chaos at the Suten Entertainment Company headquarters, where a female employee watching the stream looks annoyed at first, before suddenly screaming in shock, prompting her co-worker to rush over and ask what is wrong as she points at the screen in disbelief, and swears upon realizing someone has cleared a mission that is nearly impossible and has only been completed by 5 people before. Her co-worker reminds her to watch her language due to self-censorship fines and asks who the streamer is, and she replies that the name shown is Subakichi, which he assumes is just another fake, explaining that since the real Subaru has been gone for so long, the strongest imitators have become the closest thing to the real one. Elsewhere in the building, Hatsuka sits in her office complaining about the endless fake Subaru Narukami streamers, and when her co-worker questions the value of streaming, she firmly says the industry is their livelihood even if most players prefer watching streams over climbing the tower themselves. When asked why she quit climbing, she replies that she grew bored of it, then complains that her co-worker also quit as he admits he lacked the talent to continue, prompting Hatsuka to sigh and say he only entered the tower to meet Subaru and lost motivation when Subaru disappeared. Suddenly, she freezes and points at the screen again, as her co-worker mocks the new stream for being a meaningless second-floor run with no viewers, but Hatsuka stares quietly, feeling strange hope whenever she sees that mask and instantly donates 1,000 credits. Meanwhile, Subaru moves through the second-floor starter dungeon, noting its tense feeling, calmly answering questions while reading comments before a one-eyed bat attacks him, which he defeats instantly as he earns a point and coldly asks the viewers if there is a problem. Subaru keeps walking through the dark dungeon hallway as the number of comments on his stream slowly increases, with one viewer praises his fast reactions, while another named Love Money warns him not to be greedy and suggests he wait for a team. Subaru reads the comments calmly, thanks Love Money politely, but explains that teaming up is not possible for him, saying he prefers clearing the dungeon alone, which immediately causes many viewers to laugh and mock him, claiming he will surely die. Subaru ignores their words and focuses on the monster rising from the muddy ground ahead as a mud nymph jumps out with a loud cry, but he easily dodges and kills it with one strike of his demon sword, deciding this is the right time to test how far he can push this body. A message appears saying he gains 2 achievement points, leaving viewers confused by how quickly the monster falls, and suddenly loud screeches fill the dungeon as many bats and more mud nymphs rush toward him. Subaru moves like a storm, cutting down enemies from all sides as the red glow of his sword flashes through the darkness, and the viewers fall silent in shock, unable to understand how someone on the second floor can fight with such speed and power. More system messages appear, showing defeated monsters and rising points, and standing among the bodies, Subaru shows everyone that he is not just another fake imitator. In the dark cave, he calmly explains how careful listening can reveal enemy numbers and distance, but the viewers mock him, calling him a liar, pretending to be experienced, while Subaru touches his mask and thinks that if they knew who he truly was, they would understand. Still, he continues forward, knowing his points are not enough yet, as more viewers joke that real men rush ahead without thinking, until Subaru suddenly stops and looks up. The camera reveals the ceiling covered with hundreds of one-eyed bats, their red eyes glowing together, and panic fills the chat as a viewer named My Very Own Dead Stream offers a mission worth only 100 credits if Subaru kills them all. Many call it a cruel joke, but Subaru accepts calmly, while at the broadcasting company, Hatsuka's co-worker complains after failing another climb, and Hatsuka stays silent, staring at her screen. When she says something feels wrong and points at the name Narukami Subaru, her co-worker looks and turns pale as on-screen Subaru destroys the bats like a hurricane, red trails flashing as monsters fall, causing viewers to scream in shock and some even to feel sorry for the bats. During the fight, Subaru remembers Shigur praising him long ago for his steady breathing and focus even when changing his sword's path mid-swing, explaining that although it looks like he kills enemies with one strike, he is actually predicting their movements and planning his attacks ahead of time. And Subaru remembers answering that he never thinks about anything special while fighting, which annoys Shigur greatly as she complains it is unfair how naturally he does such things and calls him irritating. That memory fades as Subaru returns to the present and finishes off the remaining bats with calm focus, following his main rule for group battles, believing in facing enemies directly, keeping eye contact, showing clear intent, and never fighting them one by one. He explains to the viewers that one-eyed bats always attack by lunging forward with their heads, and that the more bats there are, the bigger the opening they create, and using that knowledge he charges into them and cuts them down quickly. When the fight ends, Subaru stands among the remains with blood dripping from his sword, and viewers complain that his explanation makes no sense and demand an apology, but Subaru stays calm. One person mocks him by comparing his advice to saying that walking works if you move your legs, and Subaru only thinks about how hard it is to explain things clearly. Love money reminds him to collect the mission reward, and Subaru suddenly realizes he has forgotten, awkwardly tapping the screen and confusing viewers who laugh at his poor technical skills until, with guidance, he finally claims the 100 credits and thanks the viewer sincerely, saying the next challenge will be his last. His balance reaches 150 credits, and his achievement points rise to 118, and at the broadcasting office Hatsuka screams in shock and insists something is different about this streamer, excitedly imagining that Subaru Narukami might have returned through reincarnation, while her colleague worries she is overreacting, prompting Hatsuka to decide she will recruit him no matter what. Meanwhile, Subaru reaches the dungeon's end and passes through a gate where a massive wolf warrior named Greg waits calmly. A mission appears requiring Greg's recognition. Another viewer offers 3,000 credits if Subaru defeats him, shocking everyone, and Greg watches Subaru closely, asks if he comes alone, and Subaru calmly confirms it. Greg leans forward and sniffs Subaru, then calmly says that Subaru carries the scent of a great warrior, which confuses the viewers at once and causes many to mock the wolf, saying it makes no sense because Subaru does not look powerful at all. Subaru understands the reason on his own, knowing that wolves from Greg's tribe do not judge others by physical smell but by sensing a person's inner essence, and the Guardian soon confirms that Subaru has the qualities needed to pass the test. Greg officially ends the trial and allows him to go through the gate, shocking the viewers who expect a completely different result. But Subaru does not move toward the gate, and instead quietly mutters that nothing like this happens in his previous life and that it is a pity, because his true target is the wolf himself. Greg pauses and asks if Subaru truly means he wants to fight him, instead of leaving, and Subaru answers immediately without hesitation, his eyes glowing faintly behind the mask as he explains that someone has requested he kill the Guardian. Greg bares his fangs in amusement and laughs, saying Subaru truly possesses the spirit of a warrior just as he expects. At the Suiten Entertainment headquarters, Department Manager John Tail types loudly while reviewing reports and sharply asks about the stream's viewer count, and Kiyoharu replies nervously that it is around 20. Only for Hatsuka to correct him at once by saying it has already passed 30, while silently calling him foolish. The manager glares at both of them, accusing them of wasting time on streams and gambling instead of searching for talent, but Hatsuka barely listens and continues staring at the screen, muttering that the count has reached 30, which only increases his irritation. He sarcastically asks if she wants to become a streamer herself, but before he can finish, Hatsuka suddenly shouts that the number has passed 40, completely cutting off his scolding as he shouts for her attention. Back in the dungeon, Subaru faces the wolf warrior as Greg growls and prepares to attack, and Subaru tightens his grip on the demonic sword and focuses fully even as the weapon drains his health and magic to increase his strength. His power rises with each drop taken, and he steadies his breathing while the Wedge of Greed skill reduces the recoil, as Greg lunges with claws that tear through stone and sparks fly when Subaru blocks. The wolf attacks repeatedly from all directions, and Subaru barely manages to dodge or parry, quickly realizing he cannot win with strength alone, while Greg praises his toughness and declares he has no chance, and viewers predict Subaru's defeat. Subaru steps back to catch his breath, reminding himself that victory does not depend on power alone, just as Greg slams the ground, shatters stone, and fills the area with dust while preparing to end the duel. Subaru suddenly bursts out from the cloud of dust and strikes back, telling the wolf that those words are originally his own, calmly saying that Greg's attacks are simple, predictable, and one-sided. Greg is shocked as Subaru smoothly avoids the next bite and claw strike with sharp movements, explaining that dodging such attacks is easy, and Subaru quickly takes advantage of the opening to slash into Greg's side, making the wolf cry out in pain before following with a powerful downward strike that tears into the wolf's chest and sends blood spraying across the ground. Subaru stands firmly above him, cold and steady, as Greg admits Subaru's strength and calls him a true warrior before breathing his last, and Subaru remains among the blood-stained stones as system messages appear announcing his victory over the wolf warrior. His level increases by 2, his strength and agility rise, additional notices show boosts to focus and magic, and he gains 500 achievement points at once, causing the stream to explode with shock as viewers cannot believe someone has defeated such a monster alone. Subaru struggles to breathe and quietly acknowledges his victory as the viewer count climbs to 56, and many praise the viewer who dares to issue such a mission, while a new message appears showing the challenge is complete and that 3,000 credits are transferred from safe asset. Subaru checks the screen and promises himself he will use the money wisely as his balance passes 3,000 credits and his achievement points reach 600. just as a massive gate slowly opens with a deep sound and a strange vibration fills the air that even the viewers notice. A large interface appears showing many elemental trial paths such as ice, fire, earth, illusion, poison, metal, soul, water, and lightning, stunning the viewers who note that even top players usually see far fewer options and that the number shows true talent, while Subaru ignores the comments and focuses on the lightning trial. When the system asks for confirmation, he answers confidently, yes, the system approves, and Subaru steps into the bright light. At the office, Hatsuka jumps up in excitement and proudly shows the stream count passing 60 as John Tail nervously admits that defeating the Wolf Warrior is impressive, but claims Subaru is still only a beginner, prompting Hatsuka to boldly propose a bet, saying she and Kiyoharu will work 5 years for fixed pay if Subaru fails but demanding an instant contract if he succeeds, which the manager accepts coldly as Hatsuka silences her panicking colleague. Back in the test arena, the system announces the start of the lightning trial, but Subaru suddenly feels the air change in a dangerous way, and before he can react, someone shouts a warning and rushes forward, pushing him aside just as a violent explosion blasts through the area, throwing rocks and debris everywhere. When the dust clears, a huge white giant stands there, flexing its massive muscles, and the person who saves Subaru scolds him angrily, asking if he wants to die for losing focus like that. A system message immediately appears, ordering the defeat of the fragment of the giant, and Subaru kneels on the ground in shock, unable to understand how such a monster appears. The giant roars loudly, confusing the viewers who cannot understand why a creature from the giant race appears in a lightning trial, and Subaru stares at it uneasily, realizing this is a boss-class monster that should appear much later, not at the start. As the giant raises its club, Subaru wonders if killing Greg has changed the test and increased the difficulty, and when the giant smashes the ground and shakes the arena, Subaru dodges easily and notices that despite its size, it is far weaker than Greg. The man who saves him shouts again, telling Subaru to run, but Subaru decides the fight has to end quickly, draws his sword, and activates the demon sword, letting it drain his health to boost his power, while using Wedge of Greed to reduce the backlash. When the giant attacks again, Subaru dodges and runs up its arm at incredible speed, and before the giant can follow him, Subaru lands on its shoulder and stabs deeply, blood spraying out as the giant screams, but Subaru coldly finishes it with a powerful strike, killing it instantly. System messages appear announcing the defeat and clearing of Stage 4, stunning viewers as Subaru jumps straight to Stage 4, while his level and stats increase and he gains 4,000 achievement points along with 2 rare items, the Heart of the Giant and Lightning Bolt Armor. Falcon, the one who saves him, runs back in shock and asks what Subaru is, and Subaru calmly replies that Falcon can tell just by looking. Later, in a quiet village inn, Subaru shows the viewers his rewards, wearing the lightning armor and looking far more powerful, when suddenly a new mission appears from a viewer named Demon Realm Lover, offering 5,000 credits just to see Subaru learn the lightning skill. Soon, similar missions follow from viewers, all offering huge amounts of credits simply to watch him use lightning, and Subaru thanks them honestly and promises that he will show them the power of lightning. However, as he looks at the long list of expensive requests, a small sense of doubt forms in his mind, and he wonders why so many people are waiting specifically for him to use lightning, slowly beginning to realize that the influence of the original Subaru Narukami is far greater than he ever imagines. Before he can think more about it, a knock sounds at the door, and he allows the visitor to enter as viewers immediately notice through the comments that someone seems to be listening in. The door opens to reveal Falcon, along with a handsome knight wearing shining armor, and Falcon politely introduces the knight as Lord Peleus, the commander of the village knights, apologizing for arriving late while explaining that giant attacks have become frequent recently, forcing the knights to stay on constant alert to protect the villagers, who are advised not to leave their homes. Peleus discusses security matters with his aide and comments that it is unusual to meet a traveler during such dangerous times, then turns to Subaru and thanks him for helping the village while the knights are away, to which Subaru replies humbly that he has only done what anyone would do. As Subaru looks at Peleus, he recognizes him as the knight who always protects the village like a shield, and Peleus then explains that their scouts finally find the giant leader's hideout and says they are ready to risk their lives to defeat him, bowing deeply and asking Subaru for help while setting aside his pride for the villagers' sake. Subaru watches the live chat fill with warnings as viewers mention Peleus by name and urge others not to spoil what is coming, and Subaru remembers the original story clearly, realizing with pain that Peleus is meant to die in the next stage. Knowing this fate, Subaru asks Peleus to raise his head and agrees to help, filling Peleus with relief and confidence, as a system message announces the start of the 5th stage, Survival. The knights march toward the mountains with Subaru among them, while viewer comments flood in faster than he can read, until Peleus suddenly orders everyone to stop and points ahead where the Giant leader sleeps against a hill, and as Pelias suggests a plan, Subaru senses something wrong and realizes the truth just as the ground splits open and many giants rise up, surrounding them in a deadly trap, causing panic to break out as giants attack, crushing and devouring knights while screams and blood fill the battlefield. The orderly formation breaks apart in an instant, and the knights scatter in fear as the giant army closes in from all sides, charging forward brutally and ripping through the knights one after another. One knight screams as a giant grabs him, while his younger brother cries and begs the monster to stop, only to be held back by others who know rushing in will only cause another death, and the younger soldier screams his brother's name as the giant crushes him under its feet, turning the battlefield into a nightmare of blood, broken bodies, and scattered limbs. In the middle of the chaos, Pelias shouts for an immediate retreat, making it clear that this is a strict military order with no room for debate, begging his men to live, reminding them of their families, and promising that this is not the end, and that they will regroup and fight again. The surviving knights run toward the forest in desperation as Pelias turns to Falcon and entrusts him with leading the retreat and protecting the remaining soldiers, then faces Subaru, who stands completely still amid the slaughter and demands that he run as well. Pelias pleads with him to survive so he can help rebuild their forces and face the giants in the future, but Subaru interrupts him coldly by drawing his red glowing sword and saying those words belong to him instead, walking forward calmly toward the giant army against the stream of fleeing knights and leaving Pelias frozen in shock at his intent. Subaru stops and speaks seriously, explaining that he cannot fight freely if Pelias stays nearby and telling him he has only two choices: leave now or die beside him. And Pelias refuses at first, shouting that he will never abandon someone and escape alone. Subaru's tone sharpens as he warns him not to make him repeat himself, and finally Pelias gives in with a shaking voice, promising to gather the others and begging Subaru to hold on until they return, then runs away shouting that he owes Subaru his life. Alone, Subaru faces the advancing giants with their twisted smiles and massive forms, charges forward with his black sword, and calmly declares himself their opponent as he moves with lightning speed between their legs, striking with deadly accuracy. Two giants fall quickly, and system notifications announce their defeat and reward achievement points. And as he fights, Subaru admits that being the one left behind to buy time for others is a role he still is not used to. Pelias glances back while fleeing, his face pale with fear and guilt, and sees Subaru surrounded by giants on all sides as stream comments call Subaru's choice suicide. But Subaru focuses on saving Pelias and changing his fate. Two giants attack together, but Subaru blocks, counters, and cuts one down as more points appear, even while the sword drains his stamina to fuel greater strength, and Subaru moves across the battlefield like a violent storm, cutting down giant after giant, and telling himself that each one is not too hard to defeat on its own. What truly frightens him is not the enemies, but how long his body can survive the heavy price demanded by the sword, and he quickly changes his fighting style so he can see the battlefield better and search for the real boss. Jumping high into the air, he uses the giants' bodies as footholds, landing on them and slicing off heads from above as he passes, tearing through their formation with unstoppable force and ending one attack by smashing a giant's skull with a powerful kick. The viewers fill the chat with shock, recognizing the flying combat style that once makes Narukami Subaru famous, while the Wedge of Greed skill continues to lessen the sword's harmful effects, and Subaru feels small amounts of health and mental strength return, quietly admitting that strong equipment truly matters. Even so, with countless giants surrounding him, he fixes his mind on one goal and knows he has to kill the boss before his body completely fails. The giant leader appears with a terrifying smile, savage eyes glowing as it lifts a massive weapon and towers over Subaru. Yet Subaru charges straight at it without hesitation, knowing that if he fails to end the fight in a single moment, he will die here. Using every bit of strength he has left, he activates the lightning bolt armor's active skill, forming a shield of lightning and hoping it will succeed as thunder explodes and a huge golden lightning strike crashes down, lighting up the battlefield and freezing the nearby giants. Subaru uses that moment to leap from above and attack the boss as it roars in pain, driving the cursed sword deep into the giant's neck and pushing forward even as his life force is ripped away at a dangerous speed. At last, the giant leader falls with a massive crash, and system messages appear, announcing the defeat of the giant seed and the clearing of the 5th survival stage, something never meant to happen this way. Subaru collapses to the ground, exhausted and in pain, as the sword's recoil catches up to him, and he realizes the horror that the remaining giants have not disappeared, and as they slowly recover and turn their killing gazes toward him, a massive black and golden lightning bolt suddenly strikes Subaru from the sky, followed by a huge explosion. The scene moves far away from the battlefield to a quiet wooden cabin hidden deep inside a calm forest, where a woman sits outside on an old chair, letting gentle sunlight warm her face. And when Shigeru steps out and asks why she is sitting alone, She softly replies that the weather is nice and the air feels clean, adding with a peaceful smile that moments like this are all they can enjoy for now. Shigeru looks toward the distant trees and agrees seriously, saying their time is nearly over with at most 1 year left, and his expression grows firm as he states that the moment to end everything is finally coming. He then notices that Reina is staring at her device instead of listening and sighs, saying she always does this when things become serious, and when he asks what she is watching, she silently shows him the screen displaying a masked person calling himself Narukami Subaru. Shigeru's eyes widen and he shouts the name in shock, but Reina stops him in a calm, cold voice, clearly stating that the person is not the Subaru they know, then plays the live stream and explains that the masked man is only a streamer using the name while challenging the second floor. Shigeru stares at the screen, stunned as the fighter's movements feel strangely familiar, but Reina firmly reminds him that if Subaru has truly survived, Itsuki would have disappeared from the tower long ago, and when Shigeru asks what she means, she replies with sad certainty that Subaru is dead and it is time to accept it. Shigeru tries to end the talk by saying to forget it, but Reina sharply asks how long he will keep hiding behind memories, and when he questions why she even watches the stream if she believes Subaru is gone, she flatly answers that she is only killing time. Suddenly, her eyes widen in shock, and Shigeru follows her gaze and freezes as well, as back on the battlefield a massive blast of golden lightning rips through the ground, throwing giants aside like toys. When the dust clears, Subaru stands at the center wrapped in crackling lightning, and a system message announces that he has gained the Thunder skill, earning 2,000 achievement points, and leaving everyone watching in stunned silence. Subaru mutters in confusion, knowing this is not where the skill should appear, but as donations flood in and his balance passes 20,000 credits, he quietly decides to show his gratitude. Subaru then prepares to fight once more as the remaining giants roar and rush toward him, and wanting to show them something real, he spends 20,000 credits at once to upgrade the Wedge of Greed skill as the system announces that level 3 can now resist the violent backlash of thunder. Subaru wants to fill his entire body with lightning, but chooses to be careful and instead packs all the power into his right arm, and in an instant, he shoots forward like a bolt of living lightning as the unknown demon sword in his hand bursts with wild sparks while he charges straight at the giants. Lifting the sword high, Subaru says it is time to cut loose a bit just like before, and slams the blade down with terrifying force, sending a huge wave of red and electric energy ripping across the ground and tearing the giant army apart. When the attack ends, Subaru stands there gasping with sweat pouring down as he curses himself for not planning better and thinks he should have saved some strength for getting back, while giant bodies are scattered everywhere, and his legs shake as he leans on the sword stuck in the ground, completely exhausted. He then hears the sound of heavy armor running toward him as a group of knights arrives, and Peleus, who has rushed back as fast as he can, sees Subaru about to fall and shouts in panic, calling him their savior. As he reaches him, Subaru's vision fades, and just before collapsing, he mutters weakly and sarcastically that Peleus is an idiot for actually coming back, losing consciousness the moment Peleus catches him. At the Suiten Entertainment office, Hatsuka stares nervously at her phone on the table, while her manager and Kiyoharu stand behind her confused by her tension. And when the manager asks if this is really worth it, Kiyoharu quickly says he does not understand women and should not ask. Hatsuka buries her red face in her hands and groans as she worries about the email she sent earlier, fearing it sounded too stiff and wishing she had added something softer, while Kiyoharu teases her about being in love and makes her shout angrily that it is business, though she then admits she has been a devoted fan long before this. The manager suddenly remembers the Thunder skill, once unique to Subaru Narukami, and Hatsuka excitedly confirms that it now belongs to more than one person. But just then, her phone chimes and she screams with joy saying Subaru Narukami has read their message, only to freeze when she realizes he has not replied. Hatsuka stays frozen in her chair like a statue while her co-workers look at her with pity, clearly seeing how crushed she feels. In another place, inside a modern studio filled with bright screens and advanced machines, a famous streamer named Hawkeye gets ready for his next show, well known for his sharp analysis and deep knowledge of combat that help him build an untouchable reputation in the streaming world. As he reviews clips of different players, he speaks about Kurokawa Amon, a new member of Blue Zone, calling him a surprising talent who is climbing the tower at an incredible speed, then looks over footage of veteran players and mentions that Itsuki, once part of the original Blue Eyes Guild, is gaining attention again. However, Hawkeye's real focus today is someone else, and he decides this stream will be about a legend who crosses generations, Subaru Narukami, firmly believing that the lightning skill belongs to that man alone. When the stream goes live, Hawkeye greets his viewers confidently and says they will analyze the most controversial player active right now, plays the combat video, and warns viewers not to judge too quickly, but soon his calm expression breaks. Sweat forms on his forehead as he leans closer, shocked by the newcomer's intense focus, and he explains that although this player has just learned the lightning skill, he uses it with control far beyond what should be possible. Hawkeye points out that Subaru applies the exact amount of power needed every time and never wastes energy, meaning he makes no mistakes during the fight. Asks where such a monster comes from, and says many viewers do not even understand how amazing this is, ending by confidently predicting that this boy will soon become famous and seriously adding that this new Subaru might even surpass the original at his best. Meanwhile, in the tower's rest area, Subaru wakes up breathing hard as system messages tell him the 6th stage is ready and his fatigue is fully restored, yet he chooses to rest anyway, feeling mentally exhausted. Thanking his viewers, he is shocked to see the stream has reached 742 viewers, apologizes, says he will rest for a day, and promises to stream again soon. After ending the broadcast, he notices a message from Hatsuka of Sutin Entertainment, thanking him and offering full support for streamers, and Subaru looks at his phone with doubt, wondering if the message is just another spam offer since the name Sutin Entertainment does not sound familiar to him at all. Later, he sits quietly at an outdoor cafe with a calm, old-style feeling, drinking coffee while searching for information about the company, learning that Sutin Entertainment is a huge network that manages many streamers and invests a lot of money to help them grow, which surprises him as he quietly remarks that the world has changed a lot for such businesses to exist. As he keeps reading, he finds discussions about Hawkeye's recent analysis of him, with people arguing over whether Subaru is Hawkeye's next focus, and debating if a newcomer can really surpass the original Subaru Narukami in skill control, while some even attack Hawkeye and accuse him of being biased because of his connection to Sutin, and Subaru takes note of this and lightly blushes, admitting to himself that Hawkeye truly has sharp insight. Outside the cafe, Isaac reads the same analysis and burns with anger, seeing claims that the new Subaru might surpass Narukami at his peak and muttering that Subaru is nothing but a weak rookie still stuck on the 2nd floor while swearing he will make Hawkeye pay once he advances further. Still furious, Isaac enters the cafe complaining about his awful day, only to spot Subaru sitting calmly inside, smiling bitterly as he thinks fate is mocking him since Subaru appears everywhere. Walking past, Isaac deliberately slams into Subaru's table, spilling hot coffee over him, and Subaru jumps up from the burn as Isaac pretends it is an accident, then acts as if he just notices Subaru, mocking that they meet often and joking that the 2nd floor is small. Isaac offers to buy another coffee, sneering that Subaru is always poor anyway, but Subaru ignores him, making Isaac shout, and when Subaru turns back with a cold stare, Isaac grows even angrier. Subaru calmly reminds him that he has already warned him before and asks if Isaac has lost his mind, and when Isaac grabs his collar and threatens him, Subaru coldly says he has no time for childish behavior, grabs Isaac's hand, crushes it with painful strength, and calmly walks away, thanking him for the coffee as Isaac screams in rage and curses the name Subaru. Later, Subaru remembers the earlier message and replies, and elsewhere Hatsuka freezes in her bath when she sees Subaru has agreed to meet. Deep inside the abandoned Lizardman dungeon, water keeps dripping through narrow paths, while the bodies of defeated monsters float quietly in the dark canals, and Subaru enters the boss room with calm and steady steps, his sword glowing softly as he prepares for the final fight. A system message appears, saying that Wedge of Greed is holding back some of the cursed sword's backlash, and Subaru feels that he is slowly getting used to this body and learning its limits. From the darkness, the salamander appears, a huge monster covered in flames that crawls along the walls, and its sharp roar shakes the entire room. Subaru decides to fight carefully this time, remembering the problems from earlier battles, and focuses on controlling the thunder skill while testing how much power he can safely use. He sends energy into his legs to boost his speed and rushes forward suddenly, and for a brief moment his movements remind him of his old self, smooth and confident. Lightning surges into the cursed sword, wrapping it in violent energy, and Subaru charges ahead, cutting through fire and air as he clashes directly with the salamander's attack in a flash of sparks. Warning messages appear, saying Wedge of Greed cannot fully block the thunder's backlash. Pain shoots through his body, and the skill levels up, becoming stronger. Ignoring the pain, Subaru continues attacking and delivers one clean, powerful strike that slices through the salamander and causes a violent explosion, after which the system announces the dungeon is cleared and rewards him with increases in strength, vitality, and magic. After leaving the dungeon, Subaru walks through the dark forest and notices his stamina loss is lighter than expected, checks his fatigue level at 61, and realizes he can push himself a bit more safely, though the next upgrade cost for Wedge of Greed makes him sigh since 40,000 credits is a heavy price. As he walks, he jokes that it would be nice if someone offered him a high-paying job, But suddenly a voice asks if he is hunting, and Subaru freezes, recognizing the tone immediately, as Isaac steps out of the shadows with a cruel smile, saying Subaru always manages to surprise him. Subaru stares back coldly and calls him annoying, while Isaac admits his anger has grown too strong to ignore and suggests ending things now, and Subaru only smiles faintly as if it means nothing. Elsewhere, under the night sky, Hawkeye enters his usual cafe and is greeted by Suiton Entertainment's manager, who sits down to talk calmly about work and streaming, and Hawkeye says his viewer numbers stay steady because the biggest names in the field rarely change. Realizing the meeting is not just casual, he puts his coffee aside and asks what the manager truly wants, and the manager leans forward and brings up Narukami Subaru, the rookie Hawkeye recently analyzes, asking if his praise is honest. Hawkeye replies immediately that the newcomer shows even greater raw talent than the original Subaru Narukami when it comes to control, but clearly adds that talent does not guarantee reaching the same heights in the tower. The manager smiles, satisfied with the honest answer, and explains that his goal is to recruit the rookie, while Hawkeye laughs, praises the insight, and points out that Subaru's fame and viewership are still too small for a giant company like Suiton, only for the manager to calmly reply that Hawkeye's belief alone is enough proof and reveal his idea of creating a collaboration between Hawkeye and Subaru to raise Subaru's popularity. Back in the forest, Isaac confronts Subaru with open hostility, mocks his survival as mere luck, suggests Subaru must have run away the moment he was hurt, and warns him not to fool himself into thinking he is Narukami Subaru or that he could ever learn the thunder skill. His hatred grows stronger as he curses Subaru's name and grabs his shoulder tightly, saying that if the real Subaru is dead, he should stay buried, while Subaru sighs quietly, thinking bitterly about how the world after his death is full of imitators. Still wanting answers, Subaru asks Isaac why his hatred is so intense and whether it is really just because of the name Subaru, and Isaac explodes in anger, shouting if Subaru dares say that while knowing who his father is. Subaru replies coldly, asking why Isaac always drags his father into everything, and Isaac yells back that his father is Reinhardt, a name that strikes Subaru instantly and reminds him of the moment he defeats Reinhardt in a duel with a single strike. As Isaac screams in rage, Subaru finally understands that Isaac's hatred comes from his father's humiliation rather than from Subaru himself, and looking at Isaac sharply, Subaru asks if he knows how much Hosoi Subaru has suffered because of that bitterness, only for Isaac to refuse to listen as flames burst from his body and he declares there is no need to talk anymore and orders Subaru to die. The flames grow even higher as Isaac completely loses control of his anger, and he screams wildly that he hates Narukami Subaru so much it makes him feel sick, his voice full of poison as he shouts that Subaru is nothing special, yet somehow steals all the attention and walks around proudly, even corrupting guild leaders with that same arrogance. With a twisted smile surrounded by fire, Isaac adds that all the Blue Eyes grunts were arrogant fools, are now rotting in hell, claiming it is the justice they deserve. He then gathers power and throws a huge fireball straight at Subaru, shouting that inheriting the name Subaru is his final stroke of luck. The explosion rocks the forest, filling the area with flames and smoke, and Isaac covers his face and pretends to regret his actions, loudly acting as if he has accidentally killed his friend in such a terrible way, then looks at his burned hand and coldly mutters that his next target will be that masked streamer. Suddenly, a calm voice comes from inside the fire, asking which masked person he means, and Isaac freezes as the flames split apart to reveal Subaru walking out completely unharmed. Subaru holds the mask in one hand and stares at him coldly, asking if he means this mask, and Isaac's eyes widen in horror as he whispers that it is impossible, screaming in panic and unable to believe Subaru survived such a powerful attack without a single burn. Before Isaac can react, Subaru moves in a flash and smashes a heavy punch into his face, mocking him like a child throwing a tantrum, then follows up instantly by striking Isaac's body and slamming him into the ground, making him scream in pain as he coughs blood, shocked that someone he sees as weak can hurt him so badly. Standing over him, Subaru asks who Isaac thinks he is facing, lifting the mask and asking whether he sees Hosoi Subaru, the streamer Subaru, or Narukami Subaru of the Blue Eyes, while Isaac staggers up denying it and claiming Subaru admits to being the streamer, forming flaming claws and mocking the thunder skill as he boasts that he has already surpassed the original Narukami. He rushes forward in flames, but Subaru vanishes and reappears in lightning, and one clean sword swing cuts through the air as Isaac only realizes what happens when his severed hand falls, terror filling him, while Subaru places a blade to his neck and warns him never to insult his comrades again. Isaac finally understands the truth, but Subaru ends the fight coldly and walks away, leaving Isaac bleeding in the burning ruins. Far away from the burned forest, inside a calm and quiet cafe, a staff member watches Subaru from a distance with careful curiosity. briefly wondering if he is just an overly passionate fan of Narukami Subaru before quickly scolding herself for thinking such things, and she notices he seems to be streaming at the moment. Subaru, meanwhile, thinks seriously about his streaming plans, reminding himself that hiding his real face is a huge advantage because it stops enemies from recognizing him. And soon Hatsuka arrives and apologizes nervously for being late, her face turning red as she introduces herself as the person he contacted and says she is Hatsuka, his assigned manager. Subaru shakes her hand calmly and introduces himself as Narukami Subaru, nearly making her explode with excitement as she says it is an honor, staring at his mask in shock at how closely he resembles the legendary Subaru and wondering if he has truly returned or if this is just an incredibly convincing imitation. Her thoughts run wild until Subaru suddenly asks if something is wrong, startling her badly as she remembers her boss's warnings to stay professional and give a strong first impression and panics, feeling she has already failed. Subaru then asks if she has been a fan of the original Narukami Subaru, and Hatsuka loudly admits she is a huge fan, while Subaru tries to calm her by saying he is not the real hero and noting she looks young, only for her to surprise him by saying she is also his fan. She excitedly explains that she has watched him since he had 0 viewers and remembers every major moment of his climb, leaving Subaru shocked and quietly impressed as he smiles under the mask. Regaining control, Hatsuka explains the contract, saying the company will manage ads and clips, while Subaru only needs to keep streaming. And Subaru finds it surprisingly simple, as Hatsuka says it is because he is special and highly valued. While reading, Subaru notices a strong aura around her and realizes future enemies will only grow stronger, and just as Hatsuka worries he might reject the offer, Subaru stands beside her and offers a handshake, making her panic, scream, then grab his hand with both of hers and cry as she says it is an honor to meet him. Later that day, Subaru starts his live stream as a system message appears to announce the broadcast, and at the same moment, the viewer count jumps to 703, with the chat filling instantly with greetings and questions, many asking about his mask. Subaru notices the high number right away and understands that it comes from Hatsuka's early promotion and advertising, and taking it seriously, he holds his phone and officially announces the start of the 6th stage, called Legend. The scene then changes to a dark forest at night, where heavy rain beats down on tents and weapons are piled along muddy paths, and inside the command tent, several armored knights stand around a map while thunder rolls outside. Peleus asks where their savior is, but one knight openly doubts Subaru, saying it is hard to trust someone who is not even a knight, and impossible to believe an unknown outsider truly defeated the giant leader alone, suggesting that unless Peleus saw it himself, the monster Subaru killed might not have been the real leader. Peleus becomes angry and scolds them for disrespecting the man who saved their lives, and at that moment, Subaru enters the tent with Peleus's aide, who happily announces that the savior has awakened. Peleus greets Subaru warmly and thanks him, saying he can now walk without help, while the other knights stare coldly and whisper that Subaru looks weak and that the mask makes him suspicious. Subaru notices this and calmly confronts them, saying they either do not believe the truth or refuse to accept it, and thanks to Hatsuka's microphone setup, only the viewers hear his sharp comments, which amuse the chat and lead to mockery of the knights. Then an older knight with a gray beard named Dale steps forward, shakes Subaru's hand, and thanks him sincerely, though Subaru feels heavy pressure in the grip, and Dale grimly explains that the village has been completely trampled by a new threat. Subaru asks if there is something worse than the giant leader, and Dale answers yes, explaining that true giants from ancient legends once fought the gods and were sealed away, that the giants now are only weak remnants, but that a new leader has appeared whose power nearly matches those ancient beings. The chat panics as viewers wonder how anyone can fight such a monster, and Subaru says firmly that they have no choice, after which Peleus speaks of Millennium Mountain where a fragment of lightning is hidden, believing Subaru is the only one who can obtain it. The scene ends with a memory of burning houses, screaming people, and a long-haired giant crushing a knight with ease, declaring in a cold and cruel tone that he will send his son to rest within rivers of human blood. From far above, Subaru watches the terrifying scene, his golden eye glowing faintly, as the live chat explodes in shock and viewers question whether such a monster can truly be called a giant and how something so overwhelming can exist. Subaru urges his horse forward through the violent storm, hooves splashing through mud as lightning tears across the sky, the freezing wind cutting into his face as he understands clearly that this stage is not a simple challenge, but a deadly trap meant to kill the unprepared. Peleus's voice echoes in his mind, reminding him that the giants will arrive in 3 days and that he should flee if he fails to find the lightning in time. But Subaru rejects that idea and pushes on, leaning close to his horse and reminding himself that the lightning power is not optional, that it is the only way to stand against the giants and likely the reason he has been sent into this brutal stage. A system window suddenly appears asking if he wishes to retry the stage, but Subaru refuses instantly, declaring with confidence that there is no test in the tower he cannot clear, realizing too late that the words belong to the legendary Subaru Narukami, as viewers quickly tease him for repeating the famous phrase. Donations pour in after this catchphrase, and Subaru feels relieved that he has not revealed too much as he continues riding until he reaches the base of Millennium Mountain. After dismounting, he places his hand on the icy stone and feels certain the lightning fragment is hidden within, recalling Peleus explaining that no one knows whether the fragment is an object, a power, or a living being, only that whoever last held it wiped out the giants long ago. Elsewhere, Hatsuka celebrates wildly after the contract is confirmed, dancing in her apartment before collapsing on her bed to watch Subaru's stream. But when Subaru repeats the same legendary line again, her joy vanishes as doubt creeps in and she realizes those words have been remembered for over 20 years. Back at the mountain, Subaru begins punching the rock wall with glowing fists, ignoring viewer concern, and with relentless determination strikes again and again until the stone finally cracks open, after which Subaru smiles calmly and declares that he has found the entrance. The chat explodes in shock at Subaru's rough and simple way of dealing with the mountain, but Subaru thinks quietly that the stream can never show how his hands actually feel, and that no one has ever said strength is the wrong answer. Standing under the raging storm, he feels a powerful pull coming from deep inside the mountain, as if the lightning hidden there is calling out to the lightning already inside his body. And when the broken rocks fall away, a huge dark metal gate appears, covered in old symbols and strange carvings, clearly guarding the power he is searching for. Viewers wonder how he plans to open such a massive door without any key, but Subaru does not hesitate and decides he will smash it open. Activating Wedge of Greed at level 3, he feels the skill brace itself against the sword's violent backlash, while he gathers lightning into his fist, black and gold sparks wrapping around his hand as he senses that the real trial waits beyond the gate, and the lightning calls him more strongly than ever. Taking a sharp breath, he pulls all the energy into his arm and punches the gate with overwhelming force, declaring that he is answering the lightning's call. And a burst of golden light erupts as the mountain shakes and the gate cracks apart, before slowly opening to reveal a long, dark tunnel leading into the mountain. Subaru steps inside with steady confidence, while viewers marvel at how he seems to grow stronger by the minute, and a system message appears announcing that he has entered the path walked by Thunder, and warning that he cannot leave until the stage is complete. Far away in the knight's camp, tension fills the command tent as one knight questions whether Subaru truly has any chance of reaching the lightning, and Peleus calmly replies that Subaru has already proven his strength, and that doubt is pointless now, though fear still lingers, as one terrified knight slams the table and shouts that they are doomed no matter what, remembering the monster crushing men like insects. Peleus tries to calm him, saying that giving up early is the same as dying and asking them to trust Subaru just once, but before anything else can be said, the ground shakes violently, a cup shatters, and a soldier bursts in screaming that the creature has arrived. Inside the mountain, Subaru walks through an empty stone corridor, noticing there are no traps or enemies, which viewers find strange but Subaru understands, knowing lightning cannot be seen before it strikes and that this test will not rely on sight. Closing his eyes, he realizes the path has to be felt, not seen, and senses the sleeping energy ahead pulling him forward, then suddenly grabs a stone and throws it down the tunnel, knowing the stream can never show what he is about to prove. The stone shatters in midair before it can touch the ground, breaking apart as unseen lightning fills the cave, and the viewers can only hear loud cracking sounds tearing through the darkness as the chat fills with confusion about how a trial can have lightning that can be heard but not seen. Subaru finally understands how this stage works, and even though he knows how cruel it is, he mutters that he has no choice but to keep going and curses the creator of the stage for having terrible taste. He starts running, realizing this is not a puzzle at all, but a brutal test of endurance, with a simple and merciless rule: survive or die. Invisible lightning whips through the air as he runs, and donations begin appearing on the screen, with one viewer sending 100 credits just to tease him and ask what he is afraid of, followed by more donations as the storm grows stronger, one sending 1,000 credits, another warning he might lose the lightning skill if he fails, and another sending 2,000 credits to cheer him on. Even as the air burns and his skin tingles with pain, Subaru thanks every supporter while pushing forward with fierce focus. Far away in a quiet wooden cabin, Shigur lies on a sofa trying to rest when Reina suddenly walks in, making him jump and hide his device, and she smiles slyly, saying he must be hiding something suspicious. Shigur nervously denies it, claiming his eyes are just tired, but she does not believe him, and sitting beside him she teases him dramatically, saying strange habits make hair grow faster, which makes Shigur yell at her to stop saying weird things. Reina casually mentions she has stopped watching the stream because he told her to, but admits she still peeks sometimes, and when Subaru's voice suddenly plays loudly from the hidden device, Shigeru panics and begs her not to speak right then. Reina covers her ears, complaining his shouting hurts her ears and calling him strange, then stands up saying the situation is annoying and moves to leave, while Shigeru desperately tries to stop her by offering food and asking her to stay, but she leaves anyway. Shigeru collapses in relief, saying he almost gets exposed, then watches the stream again, smiling sadly as Subaru speaks and noticing how similar he sounds to the Subaru he once knows, except for one thing. The old Subaru has never been so desperate for credits. As he laughs quietly, a cold hand grabs his shoulder, and he turns to see Reina behind him with a terrifying smile, telling him it is far too early to think he can fool her. Deep inside Millennium Mountain, the system shows Subaru a new message telling him to carve the path of lightning, and he stands alone in the middle of the storm with sweat pouring down his face as lightning strikes his body again and again, twisting around him like angry snakes. The progress bar moves painfully slowly, stopping at just 2.3%, and he raises his hand, already glowing with tightly packed lightning, feeling a strange sense of familiarity in his chest that he knows well because in his past life, he fights alongside lightning many times. But now things are different, as each step forward makes the air heavier, the pain worse, and the lightning even more violent, and his vision flickers behind the mask as the bar reaches 3.22%, reminding him that this trial is far from finished. The chat explodes with messages as viewers shout at him to run, ask why he is moving so slowly, and beg him to hurry, but Subaru ignores them all, his body torn with wounds and every nerve screaming in pain as he knows he can no longer read the chat. He stretches his arm into the storm and reminds himself that simply clearing this stage is not his true goal, and if lightning demands everything from him, then he will take something greater in return. Far away in a quiet, expensive office, Hawkeye leans close to his screens and watches Subaru's stream from multiple angles, remembering his earlier talk with President John about working with this rising newcomer and how rare it is for John to personally handle anything. John repeats his old belief that effort alone is not enough and that fame and status are just as important, and Hawkeye agrees, saying popularity depends on background, era, and power, while John points out that Subaru's streams look nothing like a beginner's and instead feel like records of a veteran. Back in the cave, Subaru screams as lightning slams into him and turns the path into pure torture, blood running down his body as he forces his foot into the ground and refuses to fall. Step by step, he pushes forward and finally understands the trial, realizing that the stronger the lightning, the deeper it carves into his body, and that this is exactly what he needs. Lightning wraps around him, and glowing lines appear beneath his skin as the system announces that tiny energy channels inside his body are filling with lightning, and when the lightning finally reaches his heart, it burns like a blazing core inside him. The progress bar suddenly jumps from moving slowly to a sharp 20.7%, and a clear image of Subaru's body appears in front of him as the system announces that micromeridian activation has begun. Lightning settles inside his body, becoming more stable and stronger, and a calm message informs him that his magic has increased by 1 point. Subaru clenches his lightning-filled fist and swears silently that no matter how painful the cost becomes, he will fully control this power, recalling how the body works, how the Ren and Du channels are the two main paths of energy, and how countless tiny micro-meridians spread through every part of the body. As he staggers forward through the storm, he feels lightning rushing wildly inside him and reaching places energy has never touched before, realizing then that his old body has never gone through true purification. Instead of using the slow and safe method with normal mana, he forces the process with raw lightning, a violent shortcut that causes the system to show a new negative status called electric shock. Even as waves of electricity tear through him from the inside, he keeps moving, his muscles shaking uncontrollably, and blood splashing onto the cold ground as he refuses to collapse. Normal purification would have hurt, but never like this, and this pain feels like lightning ripping impurities out of him with claws and carving new paths by force, each second feeling like needles stabbing into his bones. Far away, Hatsuka sits frozen in her dark room, gripping her phone so tightly her hands turn white as she whispers in shock that Subaru is forcing open his micromeridians while still moving, knowing how insane that choice is because for most people this pain would cause repeated unconsciousness. And while the test may not be real, the pain is real to the brain and nerves. Back in the cave, the system announces that more than half of the micromeridians are now active, and Subaru drags his lightning-wrapped foot forward slowly as the pain grows unbearable, his thoughts blurring as guilt floods his mind and memories surface. He sees his companions smiling and trusting him, remembers his proud words, and realizes that his arrogance leads them to death, and when Itsuki appears in his vision mocking him, Subaru finally cries out in grief and admits with trembling sorrow that everything is truly his fault. Subaru's legs finally fail him, and he collapses onto the ground while lightning continues to snap violently across his body, reaching out weakly into the empty air as pain and regret drag his thoughts deeper into the past. In an instant, everything changes as the dark cave vanishes and is replaced by a peaceful green field glowing under warm sunlight, and Subaru blinks in confusion, unable to understand how the storm is gone. A gentle wind touches his face, and when he looks ahead, he sees familiar figures resting beneath a large tree, with Shohei, Soya, Kei, Iori, Shigure, and Reina all there, laughing and talking, as if nothing bad has ever happened. Subaru's chest tightens with emotion as he runs toward them, hope filling his heart while he thinks that maybe all the suffering has only been a terrible dream, and tears form as he smiles and places a shaking hand on one friend's shoulder, saying with relief that the nightmare isn't real and asking them to listen. Someone speaks his name, but when he turns, their faces twist into expressions filled with anger and pain as they shout that he has led them to their deaths, and Subaru stumbles back in horror. Chino steps forward, her body torn and damaged, angrily reminding him of the promises he made and asking why he failed to protect them, and the peaceful field collapses into a nightmare of corpses and screaming spirits as flames surround him and voices beg him not to leave them. Subaru screams in despair, reaching out as everything falls apart until the vision shatters, and he returns to the cave coughing blood while lightning still rages around him. His body shakes violently as he realizes how close he comes to losing his sanity, and the system announces that micro-meridian purification reaches 97.87%, and that lightning has fully settled inside him, raising his magic again. Cursing the cruel trial, Subaru slowly stands as golden light wraps his body, and he laughs bitterly, thankful in a twisted way for the reminder of why he refuses to die. Far away, giants attack the village, crushing buildings and spreading fear as some knights doubt Subaru has fled while others still believe he will return, and Peleus angrily scolds them for their doubt while Dale calmly reminds everyone of their duty to protect the land. With calm resolve, Dale slowly pulls out his sword with blue light glowing along the blade and clearly says that knights are never meant to be protected because their duty is to protect others, then rushes forward without hesitation, lifting his sword high and shouting for his men to face death proudly if that is the fate waiting for them today. His loud cry cuts through the fear like thunder, and the soldiers follow him, yelling as their armor crashes together while they charge into battle. At the same time, deep inside the mountain, Subaru's world is filled only with unbearable pain and blinding light as the progress bar shakes at 99%, and thick yellow lightning wraps around his body until it almost feels solid. Floating in front of him is a small golden orb glowing like a tiny sun, and Subaru knows at once that this is the end of the path. While his fatigue level rises to 97, his vision blurs, and blood slips from under his mask, yet he forces his legs to move because he needs just one more step. Ignoring the flashing red warning saying he will die if he continues, Subaru pushes off the ground and jumps toward the glowing orb with everything he has left. Far away in the village, Dale reaches the giant and fights with shocking speed despite his age, slipping between the monster's massive attacks and cutting deep wounds into its body as blue light flashes and the giant roars in pain, while Dale keeps attacking without slowing down. Peleus sees his chance, shouts for Dale to move aside, and rushes forward, jumping into the air and bringing his sword down again and again with crackling energy as he strikes the giant's weak points until it finally collapses with blood spraying across the broken ground. The soldiers cheer loudly, praising Peleus and Dale and believing the nightmare is over, and Peleus breathes out in relief. But Dale suddenly warns them with a voice full of fear that this is not the real enemy. Before anyone can react, a massive hand falls from the sky, crushing a soldier and the ground beneath him instantly, and Dale and Peleus freeze as a terrifying shadow rises above them, while Dale declares in horror that this is the true giant. At the same moment, Subaru's progress reaches 99.99% as he grabs the golden orb, while lightning tears through his body. The system announces completion. Golden light explodes through the chamber, messages appear announcing his growth, and Subaru collapses onto the ground as the 6th stage is finally cleared. Inside the Sutin Entertainment office, the manager sits stiffly in front of the screen, frowning as he watches the live stream, and Subaru's health bar falls dangerously fast while the manager mutters that the boy is clearly pushing himself far past what any normal person should. He taps the desk in frustration and sighs, deciding that Subaru is probably not fit for the streaming industry after all. But just then, his phone rings. Hawkeye's excited voice bursts through the call, asking if the manager has seen Narukami Subaru's stream and shouting that it is completely insane, and the manager tells him to calm down and explain, only for Hawkeye to reply with strong confidence that a real star is being born. Relaxed and certain, Hawkeye says Subaru will not only succeed as a streamer, but also as a powerful player, adding that even the original Narukami Subaru has always been more of a fighter than a showman, and that viewers are naturally drawn to this new Subaru because he feels like a true continuation of the legend. The manager listens in shock as Hawkeye insists this is not an imitation, but the birth of a new Narukami Subaru happening live before everyone. Back on the stream, Subaru slowly stands up as the chat explodes with messages from viewers amazed that he is still alive, and Subaru rubs his head while complaining about the exhaustion weighing on his body. When he checks his status, he sees his fatigue has already dropped to 81, and feels relieved knowing his recovery speed improves as his stats grow, while mission rewards continue stacking up until his balance reaches 20,420 credits. He nods, thinking it is decent, until he checks the next upgrade cost for Wedge of Greed and sees it requires 40,000 credits, making him sigh as he thinks defeating the giant outside might make it possible. Subaru looks at the glowing golden orb in his hand and checks its details, learning it is the Lightning Spear, a legendary weapon formed from a primal bolt that can unleash one devastating attack before disappearing, and he is stunned by its rarity. Holding it tightly, he decides to move and tells the stream it is time to end the danger outside. Beyond the mountain, Peleus stands shaking under a massive shadow as a single giant eye stares down at them, and the system reveals the monster's name, Giant King Greg, the Thunder Devourer, while the ground trembles as it roars. One knight breaks down, runs forward, and begs for mercy while calling the giant a god, but the giant reacts with fury as Dale rushes to pull the man back and shouts for everyone to run, only for Peleus to scream his name as a massive hand crashes down where Dale has just stood. The ground splits apart with a loud crash and dust flies everywhere as Peleus freezes, the truth hitting him hard that there is no way to win and no way to escape either. Giants surround the village from all sides, forming a huge circle of death, and terrified and desperate, Peleus loses control and shouts toward Giant King Greg that he knows who killed the giant's son and can reveal the truth, willing to say anything, even lie, just to stay alive a little longer. The Giant King stops and lowers his massive head, his deep voice shaking the air as he demands the killer's name, and Peleus lifts his trembling sword and points far away, lying that the human who killed the son has run off to gain strength for another attack while he begs inside for the lie to work. The giant steps closer, his face turning terrifying as he growls that Peleus is lying, his glowing eyes cutting straight through him as he coldly asks if the real killer is not standing right there, and Peleus nearly collapses as the giant questions him further. Before he can speak again, a violent flash of lightning explodes from the mountain behind them, and everyone looks up as a golden bolt strikes the peak and shakes the land, making Peleus whisper in awe and fear while begging for a savior to still be alive. High above, a system message appears announcing the start of the 7th stage, Lightning, as Subaru stands on the cliff looking down at the chaos and tells himself this is the final wall. The chat panics and warns him to run, but Subaru knows running is not an option, and he holds the glowing orb tightly, knowing he has only one chance. He activates the lightning spear, and a massive pillar of light shoots into the sky as the power builds slowly but painfully, his fatigue climbing fast while his body shakes and blood leaks from his hand and mask. Even with Wedge of Greed helping, the system warns him again and again, but he keeps going, and at over 70% the Giant King notices the light and turns, his single eye locking onto Subaru as he declares that Subaru is the one who killed his son. Filled with rage, the giant begins walking toward the mountain, each step shaking the world as he advances to attack Subaru. As the giant roars and rushes at him, Subaru pushes the lightning spear to 88% activation, and dark lightning spreads through his entire body, bringing unbearable pain that he endures because he knows he has only one chance, even though the outcome still feels like a gamble. The viewers in the chat are confused and anxious, wondering how he can possibly hit such a massive target, but Subaru focuses on one clear rule: he must never look away from his enemy. At that moment, he remembers his old friend Soya, who once tells him that the most important part of throwing a spear is keeping his eyes locked on the target, saying not to worry about perfect angles, straight paths, or even the weight and shape of the weapon, because those things do not matter to Subaru, who is not like other spear users, and makes things happen once he decides. Returning to the present, the lightning sphere reaches 95% completion, and Subaru takes his stance, recalling Soya's words and knowing he should not throw it like a normal spear, but fire it directly like a shot to ensure it hits as close as possible. The giant climbs closer to the cliff as the chat grows frantic, begging Subaru to release the attack before it is too late, but Subaru waits, needing both full charge and perfect distance. When the giant reaches the top and leaps into the air with deadly intent, Subaru completes the sphere as black and yellow lightning crash together with a deafening roar, and in that instant he fires the lightning sphere forward, knowing there is no second chance. The collision is overwhelming, followed by a massive explosion that shakes the area as lightning tears through the giant's body, and the creature burns away completely while remembering his son in his final moment. When the dust settles, Subaru is still standing, though badly wounded, and the chat explodes in disbelief at his survival. The system announces that Stage 7, Thunder, is cleared, and Subaru gains increases to his strength, agility, vitality, focus, and magic, earns 5,000 achievement points, and receives a glowing item called the Heart of Thunder that even he does not yet understand. Slowly, the Heart of Thunder shines so brightly that Subaru has to cover his eyes, and in the next instant, it feels as if the stone pulls him away to another place. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself surrounded by enormous giant figures staring down at him, and Subaru feels confused and uneasy, unable to understand what is happening as his body refuses to respond no matter how hard he tries to speak or move, his voice failing and leaving him able only to kneel. One by one, system notifications appear, informing him that the giants are observing him, and Subaru senses they are trying to communicate something important even though he has no idea how to receive their message. Tightening his grip around the Thunderstone, he suddenly feels himself pulled back, and in the next moment he is standing again near the cliff on the stage, as a system message announces that the main Thunder scenario has now begun, and that the Heart of Thunder can be used to search the village for clues. At the same time, Subaru sits motionless and dazed while the chat wonders why he has not moved even though the battle is over, until Subaru realizes he has blacked out again and laughs it off, apologizing to the viewers and saying he thinks it is just a cutscene, though the chat quickly figures out the truth and jokes that he has fainted from exhaustion once more. Subaru ignores their teasing and instead focuses on the flood of notifications showing many viewers have donated credits, and when he checks his balance, it has finally exceeded 40,000 credits. The chat urges him to return to the village and show the Heart of Thunder, but Subaru feels too tired to continue and ends the stream without hesitation, ignoring the disappointed reactions. Later, inside a hotel on the second floor, Subaru meets with Hatsuka, who praises him enthusiastically for clearing the trial. And when Subaru questions whether his streaming style is really acceptable, Hatsuka assures him it is perfect and reveals that his peak viewers have surpassed 3,000 without him even noticing. She explains that ending the stream when he does create massive excitement, and Subaru calmly listens, understanding that mystery and delayed rewards only increase interest. When Hatsuka wonders if he plans this intentionally, Subaru denies it and says he simply wants to check the rewards live next time to capture his genuine reactions, prompting Hatsuka to smile in relief before suddenly becoming serious and telling him she has a special gift prepared for him, something she is certain he cannot refuse. Hatsuka tells Subaru to look up a streamer named Hawkeye, and even though Subaru already knows who he is, he still takes out his tablet and searches for him, finding that Hawkeye is live at that moment and speaking confidently to an audience of around 9,000 viewers. Hawkeye jokes about whether he should reveal today's topic or change it, but in the end he decides to keep his promise and talk about Subaru Narukami again, with the theme of the stream being whether this new Subaru is just another copy or someone who might surpass the original, surprising the chat, as Hawkeye keeps making content about Subaru almost every day. Hawkeye then begins breaking down Subaru's recent trial step by step, carefully explaining each part, and as evening arrives, Subaru continues watching the analysis, while Hawkeye points out that during the trial, Subaru is not only clearing the test, but also enduring extreme pain, meaning he adds an extra layer of difficulty to himself. Hatsuka sits nearby listening and blushing nervously, and when Hawkeye prepares to end the stream, he shocks everyone by summing it up simply, saying that this new Subaru is essentially Narukami Subaru himself, and that no further explanation is needed. Subaru is startled by this statement and wonders if Hatsuka is thinking the same thing, and after a short pause, Hatsuka nervously asks Subaru a personal question, apologizing in advance, and asking why he starts streaming, saying she feels it is not just about money. Subaru thinks about it briefly, and then answers honestly that money is the only reason, making Hatsuka feel embarrassed by both the question and the plain answer, as she quickly apologizes and changes the topic to the gift she mentions earlier. She explains that Hawkeye is also connected to Suiten Entertainment and has been under contract for 6 years as a trusted analyst with a strong fan base, and smiling she reveals that all revenue from Hawkeye's Subaru-related content will be split evenly with Subaru. Subaru is shocked and asks why, and Hatsuka explains it is because the content uses Subaru's material, including ads, donations, and archived videos, while Subaru admits that ever since joining the agency, good things keep happening. Hatsuka blushes again, clearly flustered, and then asks if Subaru would consider collaborating with Hawkeye, which surprises him. Later, alone in his room, Subaru removes his mask and wonders if he still needs it when meeting people offline, also thinking about trust and how hard it is to hide things as he builds new relationships, and setting those thoughts aside, he opens the system window and upgrades Wedge of Greed to level 4, now an A-rank skill, only to sigh when he sees the next upgrade will cost 80,000 credits, far more than he currently has. When Subaru checks his remaining credits and sees only 120 left, He reminds himself that money still has to be his main focus because he needs it to upgrade his skill, knowing that the collaboration stream with Hawkeye is scheduled for the day after tomorrow, and believing he can earn a good amount before then, while also knowing that Shigeru and Reina will likely hear about him again soon. The scene then moves to Hatsuka's room, where she lies on her bed blushing hard while thinking about Subaru, replaying their conversation in her head and repeatedly punching her pillow as she is overwhelmed by her thoughts, telling herself that the man behind the stylish mask is hiding an incredible secret, and that digging too deep might only hurt her, yet she cannot stop imagining herself and Subaru together. She mutters that she is his biggest fan, and promises herself she will never invade his privacy, imagining Subaru telling her that meeting her makes everything in his life better, and that thought completely breaks her composure as she smashes her pillow with a blissful expression and calls him a mysterious man who feels even more amazing in person. As night falls, the scene shifts to an ancient-looking building under a full moon revealed to be the 7th floor of the tower called Noxvera, where inside a muscular man trains in a private gym while watching television that shows Hawkeye's stream saying the new Subaru Narukami is equal to the old one. The man dislikes this deeply and wonders who this so-called new Subaru really is, while his butler informs him that Hawkeye averages around 8,000 viewers and openly supports Subaru. And the man, Kurokawa from the Blue Zone Guild who once fails as a streamer himself, is advised by the butler to focus less on Hawkeye and more on Subaru. Kurokawa dismisses Subaru as a fake who supposedly learns thunder, but as he watches the stream, sweat forms on his face as he realizes Subaru is truly impressive, remembering advice from Soya of the Blue Eyes Guild about never taking one's eyes off the target. The butler notes how Kurokawa remembers such details, and Kurokawa explains that he studies the Blue Eyes Guild because they once stand at the top and their deaths are suspicious, while Hawkeye continues calling Subaru the real Narukami, angering Kurokawa further until he turns off the TV, only to learn from the butler that the guildmaster Kyojo orders him to watch it. Since thunder is the Blue Eyes symbol, Kyojo believes Subaru can be bought, and the butler reveals a crate filled with gold bars, shocking Kurokawa with how much money the guild truly has. As the scene changes, the 2nd floor trial begins again, and the warrior Peleus is seen giving orders to the soldiers, telling them to gather all injured people in one place and to treat the most seriously wounded first, while those with lighter injuries receive medicine afterward. While this is happening, a soldier hears footsteps and turns around happily when he sees that Subaru has finally returned and is awake. Peleus is clearly relieved and asks Subaru how he is feeling, admitting that everyone is worried because Subaru collapses right in front of the village, and Peleus does not know what he would have done if Subaru had not woken up. Subaru replies that he still feels a little dizzy but is able to function properly now, then asks Peleus if they can talk later at the hotel, because there are a few things he wants to ask him. Peleus agrees immediately, saying he will answer whatever he can, and then politely takes his leave, leaving Subaru impressed by how sincere and earnest Peleus is. Later, Subaru sits on his bed and decides to check his rewards, taking out the Heart of Thunder and reading its details, seeing that it is an untradeable, unique rank item that grants 30% thunder resistance, 20% thunder attack power, and resistance to fire-based status effects. As he looks at it, Subaru realizes how perfectly the item matches thunder users and thinks it feels almost unreal. Soon after, there is a knock at the door, and Subaru knows it is Peleus, who enters carrying some fruit and asks kindly whether Subaru has rested well, prompting the chat to immediately tease Subaru again by joking that Peleus must really want to see him. The scene then shifts to Subaru and Peleus sitting together at a table, where Subaru confirms the truth about the Thunder legend, and Peleus admits his surprise, saying he never expects to witness such power, and that thanks to it, the village is saved. Subaru then shows him the Heart of Thunder, and when Peleus looks shocked, Subaru wonders if he knows what it is, but Peleus quickly says he does not, briefly disappointing Subaru. After a moment, Peleus explains that he has only heard of it in legends and is unsure how much of those stories are true, then shares two ancient tales, one saying thunder is used to destroy giants and titans much like what Subaru does, and the second claiming the gods and titans once fight over the power of thunder. Subaru feels shocked and confused, wondering why gods would ever need to fight over a power that seems so small, but Peleus explains that according to the oldest legends, the gods and the titans once go to war over thunder, and in the end, the titans are defeated. Hearing this, Subaru realizes that the Heart of Thunder must have been created by someone and is not a natural power. Yet the question troubles him, because there is no mention in the legends of who could have made such an artifact. Peleus admits that he does not know either, since the stories never speak about its creator, but looking at the artifact's effects, it is clear that it is designed to help humans use thunder safely, because humans need such power to face gods and titans who are far stronger than ordinary people. With the Heart of Thunder, Subaru thinks that maybe one day humans can stand against gods and titans and even defeat them when that time comes. As this thought settles, a system message suddenly appears, informing Subaru that he has viewed all tales of the Forgotten Human and has successfully cleared the Thunder trial, and immediately after, the Thunder skill begins leveling up using the 1,750 points he earned, rising directly to level 3 in an instant. Without any warning, Subaru is suddenly transported away, vanishing from the room, leaving Peleus frozen in shock as he stares at the empty space where Subaru stands moments ago, unable to understand what just happens. The scene then shifts to the third floor of the tower, known as the Ordinal, where Subaru appears standing on a teleportation platform and the chat explodes in surprise, amazed at how quickly he clears the second floor. Many other players who see him assume he is just another cosplayer copying the real Narukami Subaru and wonder when this trend will finally end, until someone in the chat gifts Subaru 1,000 credits to congratulate him on reaching the third floor and asks how he is feeling. Reading that question causes Subaru's mind to drift into a memory from his past life as Subaru Narukami, remembering meeting Reina, who seems distant at first but blushes as she explains that she is separated from her party and asks if he has seen a man slightly taller than himself. Subaru recalls that he sees someone like that and points her in the right direction, and Reina thanks him and starts walking away, but then stops, clearly unsure of where to go, leading Subaru to realize she is bad with directions and decide to go with her, telling her he is heading the same way. Thinking back on it now, Subaru wonders painfully if everything would have been different if he had simply walked away that day, and as the memory continues, he recalls Reina introducing herself while he smiles, believing he has gained a new companion. The scene moves to a luxurious hotel on the third floor, where Subaru sits quietly when he hears a familiar voice. The chairman apologizes for making him wait and explains that Hatsuka is on her way, adding that unlike moving up after clearing a trial, traveling between floors without clearing them takes time. The man then introduces himself as John from the streaming entertainment company, though Subaru already knows him as Hatsuka's nagging boss, something she mentions before. John looks surprised at that description, but Subaru brushes it off politely and says his manager already tells him about John and that it is nice to finally meet him. John admits that normally he leaves meetings like this to Hatsuka, but this time he wants to see Subaru himself, explaining that Hatsuka only ever praises two players this highly, which makes him curious. Subaru asks who they are, and John replies that the first is obvious, while the second is the original blue-eyed Narukami Subaru. John finds it strange that Hatsuka, who is usually very strict, shows interest in someone with the same name, and Subaru feels a little embarrassed as John then asks an unusual question about whether he has any interest in the Blue Eyes Guild, the group that exists before Blue Zone. Hearing that name stirs something inside Subaru, and John notices his reaction immediately. Subaru wonders why John suddenly brings up a guild, and John explains that it is one of the main reasons he wants this meeting. He hands Subaru a tablet and tells him to look, and on the screen is the championship prize for a tournament that will take place on the third floor in 5 days. The moment Subaru sees it, his emotions flare, and his thunder skill activates under the table as he struggles to control both his anger and his power. The scene then shifts elsewhere, showing Reina looking at her own tablet and wondering why the stream suddenly ends. As she moves across a snowy field, she asks Shigeru if he finishes his task, and he replies that he already completes it. Reina questions what takes him so long afterward, and it is revealed that Shigeru debates whether to kill the soldiers he freezes in ice or let them live. Reina believes they should be killed since they are enemies, but Shigeru hesitates, unsure why weak soldiers are sent. Reina warns that letting them go can lead stronger enemies back to them, and she prepares herself by forming sharp ice knives. With a simple repeated command, Reina sends all the ice weapons flying at the frozen enemies, shattering them completely in one strike, and the situation becomes clear. As she steps in to guide Shigeru's choice, he asks what she is doing, and she explains calmly that it does not matter who sends those men or whether it is Kyojo himself, because if even one escapes, word spreads that Subaru's group is still alive, and Shigure's hesitation only leads to all of them being killed, telling him that to survive, he has to harden his heart. Shigeru understands she is right, takes out his phone, and asks her to look at the screen, and when she sees it, she is shocked, her crimson eyes filling with killing intent, just like Shigure's anger already reaches its limit. The prize for the upcoming competition is revealed to be Soya's shoes, and Shigeru immediately realizes it is bait set by the Blue Zone Guild, with Kyojo suspecting that some of the team are still alive and using this relic to draw them out. Even so, ignoring it is impossible, and they have to reclaim what remains of their friend and take revenge, something Reina already understands without words. Shigeru knows he is terrible at sneaking around while Reina is always skilled at it, and she does not even need to be asked because she already decides to act, though Shigeru stops her and warns her not to rush in blindly, suggesting they steal the shoes at the moment the winner is announced since that is the safest option. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, John shows the same shoes to Subaru and explains that they are a relic from the Blue Eyes Guild called Talaria, which Blue Zone places as the tournament reward, and asks if Subaru is interested. Subaru replies coldly that he is only interested in that item, and the sharp tone in his voice makes John uneasy. John says nervously that the entire project depends on Subaru's cooperation, and when Subaru asks what project he means, John explains that because Subaru streams under the name Narukami Subaru, Hatsuka designs a storyline about hunting Blue Eyes relics to attract viewers, which is why they want him to join the tournament. Behind the mask, Subaru burns with rage at the thought of Kyojo turning Soya's relic into cheap entertainment, and John senses something is wrong and asks if Subaru has concerns, but Subaru simply says he will participate, then stands up immediately, excuses himself, and leaves the hotel while John thanks him and says he will cheer from behind the screen, words Subaru does not hear, because he will never allow anyone to claim his teammates' belongings unless they step over his dead body. Back in his room, Subaru lies on the bed thinking about the upcoming tournament, hoping the events are individual battles, but knowing he cannot be picky because obtaining the relic matters most. Just then, someone knocks on his door, and it is Hatsuka calling him. As he stands up, he briefly wonders whether he should wear his mask or not. When he opens the door, Hatsuka stands there looking neat and pretty, but she freezes when she sees he is wearing the mask again, surprised that he even wears it inside his own room. Subaru casually greets her, and Hatsuka hesitates, blushing hard as she wonders if he really wants her to come inside. Subaru, not understanding the awkwardness, asks if she prefers talking in the hallway since he is fine with either option, and realizing how strange that sounds, Hatsuka quickly steps inside. She sits nervously on a small stool, while Subaru remains seated on the bed, and as she looks around, she notices the room is very plain, with almost nothing personal inside. She also feels Subaru staring at her, though in truth he is sensing the deep and powerful mana within her, realizing she cannot be just an ordinary manager. Hatsuka grows uneasy and asks if something is wrong or if she has something on her face, and Subaru answers honestly that since she is quiet, he has been thinking about the tournament. That prompts Hatsuka to quickly pull out some papers and explain that the tournament is a battle royale where everyone fights for a single prize, eventually turning into one-on-one fights, which makes Subaru feel relieved. She adds that since there is only one reward, the format cannot change, and that the event takes place in a simulated battlefield, only open to third-floor players, with an entry fee of 3,000 credits and no ranking limit. Hatsuka sends past Battle Royale data to Subaru's tablet so he can review it, and when Subaru checks, he realizes all the reference material features Narukami Subaru himself, surprising him, and he thanks her awkwardly. Hatsuka smiles and says she is only doing her job, then blushes again and asks if John tells him anything else, explaining that Blue Zone contacts the company asking to meet him. Hearing that name, Subaru feels anger rise again as he remembers Kyojo, and Hatsuka guesses Blue Zone likely wants to recruit him with better pay and benefits, but Subaru tells her without hesitation to ignore them. At first, she looks disappointed, then suddenly laughs in relief, and Subaru says clearly that he will never join Blue Zone or any other guild, making Hatsuka jump up happily, almost dancing, relieved she tells him. She says she is glad she passed on the message and then tells Subaru to rest until the collaboration stream so he can recover fully, while Subaru watches her celebrate and wonders why a simple manager cares so deeply, certain once again that Hatsuka is far from ordinary as she silently cheers with joy inside her heart. The scene moves to a huge open field that looks like a stadium, where John and Hawkeye already stand, and John checks his tablet and tells Hawkeye that today's project is a talent comparison test between the original Narukami Subaru and the new one. Hawkeye finds the idea exciting and asks if it will really work, and John warns him to be careful since failure would bring heavy criticism. But Hawkeye calmly replies that results matter more than fear, and honesty is the only way to earn trust, asking John if he has ever lost a battle, which makes John laugh and remind him that everything now depends on Subaru. At that moment, Hatsuka arrives at the field with Subaru, waving to John, and Hawkeye instantly realizes his chance to witness a new star has arrived, while Subaru is distracted by how expensive the place looks and wonders how much Hawkeye must earn to rent it. Hawkeye steps forward, offers a handshake, and introduces himself as Hawkeye the streamer, while Subaru introduces himself in return, and Hawkeye says, meeting Subaru feels like meeting the original legend, as Subaru humbly calls himself a beginner. John interrupts and tells them to save the friendly talk for the live stream, since that excites viewers, and Hawkeye starts the stream, with the viewer count jumping past 12,000 within minutes, making even him nervous. He announces that today's special guest is Narukami Subaru. The numbers climb past 14,000, and when Subaru greets everyone, the chat explodes with questions about his face. Hawkeye admits he has never seen it either. The chat teases Subaru by calling him ugly, and Subaru responds playfully that he is actually good-looking. pushing the viewers to 17,000 and earning many credit donations asking him to reveal his face, which Subaru politely refuses. Hawkeye notices how well he handles the crowd. Someone asks about Subaru's girlfriend, and he honestly says he has no friends yet, making Hatsuka quietly relieved. With nearly 19,000 viewers watching, Hawkeye tells everyone to focus and begins the main event as stadium lights flash on, revealing many armed robots waiting on the field, explaining that robots are perfect for testing control and proving skill. A giant screen shows the leaderboard with the original Subaru in first place, followed by Hiles, Kyojo, and Shigure. And when a viewer asks if Subaru can beat the top score, Subaru confidently says he would not be here if he did not believe so. Just as the robots activate, their eyes glowing red while they rush towards Subaru from every direction. Subaru stays completely still at the beginning, clearly knowing what he needs to do, but choosing not to move yet, as the leaderboard shows the target clearly with the original Narukami Subaru holding the top score at 43 robot defeats. The chat grows excited and nervous at the same time, wondering how this Subaru can possibly reach such a high number in one attempt, with many viewers questioning whether he can really beat the record in a single run. Subaru calmly looks at the leaderboard and also notices his own past record displayed there, and soon viewers begin sending credits, daring him to defeat all 43 robots for 10,000 credits while threatening that he must reveal his face on camera if he fails. At first, Subaru hesitates and says he cannot accept such a challenge, but as more people send credits and the total quickly reaches around 10,000, he immediately changes his mind, agrees on the spot because he badly needs the money, and promises to show his face if he fails, ignoring the chat teasing him for his sudden change. Some viewers then complain to Hawkeye that a 50-50 revenue split is unfair, since Subaru alone is taking all the risk, and Hawkeye agrees and announces that all the credits from this challenge go entirely to Subaru. With that settled, Hawkeye officially starts the event, pressing the stopwatch as the 3-minute timer begins, and the robots activate and rush towards Subaru, who remains calm as he activates his thunder skill, black lightning covering his body. He jumps toward the first robot, grabs it by the arm, sends electricity straight into its head, and destroys it in a single hit, shocking the chat since he does not even use his demonic sword. Hawkeye is thrilled, realizing he is witnessing the legendary thunder skill live, and Subaru then draws his demonic sword and begins cutting down multiple robots at once, moving with extreme speed and precision learned from his past life. Within seconds, many robots are destroyed, and the chat compares his movements to the original Subaru's famous aerial combat. And as time passes and the robots adapt and become harder to defeat, Subaru shows no hesitation. With just over a minute left, 26 robots are already destroyed, and the chat can hardly believe what it is seeing. In the final seconds, Subaru strikes the ground with his sword, sending black lightning through several robots at once, and with only seconds remaining, the count reaches 42, before he spots one last robot wielding a huge sword and destroys it in a single strike just before time runs out. The counter stops at 43, announcing the end of the trial, and confirming that both Subarus now share first place on the leaderboard, as more than 38,000 people watch the event live, and the chat fills with excitement, disappointment, and confusion. Some viewers believe Subaru could have defeated one more robot and taken first place alone, pushing the original Narukami Subaru into second place, but Subaru himself does not seem to care. Hawkeye runs over in shock, unable to believe this Subaru has perfectly tied with the original Narukami Subaru and ended the match in a draw, nervously asking viewers how they feel as many begin sending credits to Subaru to celebrate and congratulate him. Some viewers wonder whether this is truly a collaboration or if Subaru carries everything on his own, and suddenly a massive donation appears when someone named Reinhardt sends Hawkeye 10,000 credits, freezing Hawkeye in surprise and making the chat explode as people question whether this is truly the legendary swordsman Reinhardt. As Hawkeye thanks him, Subaru feels uneasy, remembering Reinhardt and the fact that he has already defeated his son Isaac, while Reinhardt continues donating credits and praises Subaru, saying his streams inspire him, then sends another 1,000 credits and asks Subaru to collaborate with him. The chat goes wild at how early such an offer appears in Subaru's career, and Hatsuka and John urge Subaru to accept immediately, but to everyone's disbelief, Subaru calmly rejects the offer, explaining that he needs to focus on clearing trials first. Hawkeye, Hatsuka, and John are nearly stunned into silence as the chat jokes that lightning must have damaged Subaru's brain, and Subaru apologizes to Hawkeye for overexerting himself, says it is time to end the event, and walks away before anyone can stop him. John and Hatsuka are confused, knowing how valuable such a collaboration would be, especially with a high-ranked player, and John explains that collaborations with rankers almost never happen. But Subaru answers simply that if rank matters so much, he will just become one himself instead of relying on others. Hawkeye later praises Subaru's performance and promises to send him his share of the revenue, then asks why Subaru seems slightly off during the fight, and Subaru explains calmly that both winning and losing would have harmed him, since winning would end the rivalry hype quickly, and losing would make people dismiss him as inferior, while a draw keeps interest alive. Hawkeye immediately understands that Subaru could have surpassed the original if he wanted, and Subaru ends by saying the result is already set, and how people view it is up to them, leaving the venue calmly as everyone stares after him. The scene shifts to a dark red office where a big and powerful man smashes the table into pieces with one hit. This man is Reinhardt, the famous one-strike swordsman, and he is extremely angry that a new person named Subaru is acting without fear. Reinhardt is ranked 121 and is the guild master of the Golden Lion Guild. His tablet has been thrown aside after Hawkeye ends the live stream, which only makes his anger worse. His butler rushes in and politely asks if something is wrong, but Reinhardt angrily says that Narukami Subaru is annoying him. He shouts that the boy dared to refuse an offer that Reinhardt himself made, something almost no one would ever dare to do. The butler tries to calm him down by saying it is shocking that anyone would reject such an important offer, but this only makes Reinhardt more furious. He had planned to defeat Subaru publicly and stop the rumors that Subaru had surpassed the original Narukami, but the cancelled collaboration ruins his plans. He does not care about the lost credits at all. What truly angers him is that an unknown rookie has hurt his pride. While Reinhardt is shouting, the butler quietly picks up the golden tablet and hands it back. Reinhardt snatches it and demands news about the task he gave earlier. It is revealed that Reinhardt is searching for his missing son, Isaac. Even after searching everywhere, there is no sign of him. The butler carefully says that a young man being gone for a few days is not unusual, but before he can finish speaking, Reinhardt lifts him into the air with psychic power and starts choking him. Reinhardt coldly asks if the butler is also making fun of him. Unable to breathe or speak, the butler cries in fear until Reinhardt throws him aside, smashing him into the wall. Reinhardt moves forward in anger, offended that someone so unimportant questioned him. Terrified, the butler falls to his knees and promises to continue the search right away. The scene then changes to Hatsuka, who receives a call from John, saved in her phone as nagging boss. Looking very tired, she answers weakly. John complains about her dull voice and jokes that she should talk to him the way she talks to Subaru. Annoyed, Hatsuka cuts him off and asks if he is calling about Reinhardt's offer. John admits it and says Subaru cannot refuse such a big chance. Hatsuka calmly says there is nothing they can do because Subaru only wants to climb the tower, which she believes is the right mindset. John keeps talking while cooking, surprised that Hatsuka only shows emotion when arguing with him. She ends the call and then goes to Subaru's room, asks about his mask, and explains that it helps people connect him to the name Subaru. She says Narukami Subaru gives people hope because when people first enter the tower, there are monsters, no food, no money, and no safety, and the only way to survive is to climb and earn credits. Slowly, people begin to believe they can live in this world, and the strongest players give them hope. The greatest of all is Subaru Narukami, who proves the tower can be conquered. Subaru asks if she believes that too, but Hatsuka only smiles and says it is a secret, just like his face. She then realizes she has not even tried to persuade him, and awkwardly wishes him good night before leaving. Alone, Subaru thinks quietly about how his name becomes hope for others as he starts a short stream, thanks viewers for their credits, and notices the chat moving too fast to read. Seeing how strong the collab hype becomes and how viewers and donations keep increasing, Subaru realizes one clear rule: if he gives people what they want to see, they reward him with credits. With that in mind, he decides to start the third floor trial. The system presents him with two choices: the Ottoman Kingdom and the Conrad Kingdom. Most of the chat assumes he will choose Ottoman, since it is the popular option, but Subaru knows that choosing a faction completely changes the trial, because the two kingdoms hate each other. Each choice leads to different quests and outcomes. In the end, Subaru chooses the Conrad Kingdom and is instantly transported into a separate space. It is later revealed that only around 3% of players choose Conrad, and there is a good reason for that. Subaru arrives at the Conrad Kingdom's mercenary resting area and walks inside calmly. A rough-looking man, clearly a bully, notices Subaru and gets excited, seeing him as an easy target to pass the time. The man deliberately slams his shoulder into Subaru, expecting him to stumble, but instead, the bully is thrown backward by Subaru's strength while Subaru keeps walking. Realizing Subaru is strong but unwilling to lose face, the man shouts at him to watch where he is going. Subaru turns back coldly and tells him to back off, pointing out that the collision is intentional. This angers the bully, who grabs Subaru by the collar and insults him for being an E-rank mercenary daring to talk back to a B-rank adventurer. The surrounding mercenaries watch with amusement, recognizing the bully as Vulture, known for tormenting low-rank members. Calmly, Subaru warns him, and then activates thunder around his leg. In a flash, he drives a powerful knee into Vulture's face, shattering his teeth and sending him flying across the hall. Vulture collapses, crying on the floor, while everyone stands stunned. As whispers spread, a middle-aged man steps forward, calmly noting that Subaru clearly has serious skill. Raymond then introduces himself as an A-rank examiner and asks Subaru to come with him, clearly surprised because he has never seen someone like Subaru before, and he asks what kind of job Subaru has completed so far. Subaru answers carefully, saying that low-rank mercenaries can only accept small jobs, so his income has always been poor. Nearby, the local chat starts getting bored since nothing but talking is happening, and some people wonder if Subaru only caused trouble to speed up his progress. Subaru knows very well that on the 3rd floor he must earn 10,000 attribute points through mercenary work, but even ranked mercenaries only earn around 50 points per job, which is why most players stay trapped on this floor for over a year. When Subaru looks at the people he defeated so easily earlier, he realizes he cannot afford to move slowly and does not even have time to rank up normally because he must reach the tournament as soon as possible. When Subaru mentions finding a shortcut, Raymond becomes curious and suspects that Subaru might be an otherworlder, people who come from outside the tower, and he comments that fewer of them appear these days. Raymond says he cannot give special treatment because rules exist, and helping an otherworlder who might leave someday would not solve their long-term problems. Subaru calmly replies that there is one way to clear the 3rd floor in a single move and says he will make Raymond's long-held dream come true by conquering the Cave of Thunder. Raymond is shocked and warns him that the cave lies in extremely dangerous territory, has never been cleared before, and only A-rank mercenaries are allowed to take the mission. Subaru confidently says he will clear it himself and asks Raymond to give him temporary proof of A-rank status. Raymond hesitates, unsure whether he should agree. Secretly, Subaru tells his chat that if Raymond refuses, things might get violent, which shocks the viewers watching. To everyone's surprise, Raymond agrees and promises to write a recommendation letter, explaining that the raid will begin in 5 days. As Raymond leaves to prepare the letter, system messages appear, and viewers begin sending Subaru credits, including one massive donation of 20,000 credits for solo clearing the Thunder Cave. When others see this huge donation, many more people start sending credits, and Subaru earns another 15,000, realizing how profitable this has become. However, Subaru notices that the raid date is exactly the same day the 3rd floor tournament ends, making him wonder if the Blue Zone Guild planned this carefully. Raymond soon returns, still unable to believe Subaru truly plans to clear the cave, since Raymond himself once tried it in his youth and lost half his team to its brutal conditions. Subaru confidently takes the letter, making Raymond ask why he even needs it if he is so certain. Subaru then reveals he plans to enter the cave completely alone, shocking both Raymond and the chat, even as some viewers joke about it. Raymond warns that the cave needs at least 20 people, but Subaru insists on going solo, explaining that the Conrad Kingdom lacks manpower and might not gather enough fighters. Raymond realizes Subaru truly has no companions, and the determination in his words feels stronger than ever. Elsewhere, Reina carefully walks down a dangerous wooden cliff path while watching the stream, amazed that Subaru feels just like the original Narukami Subaru. Subaru then announces he will stop streaming and do no more trials for now, shocking the chat with his sudden ending, while Reina laughs, thinking how similar this Subaru is to the original, always acting on his own terms. Later, Subaru speaks with Hatsuka, who praises how he ends the stream exactly like the original Narukami Subaru would have, saying he has truly captured his spirit. Subaru feels slightly disappointed because viewers have booed him, but Hatsuka explains that his unusual actions make the stream special. Subaru accepts this advice and tells her he plans to keep hunting until the tournament, since he does not know what kind of strong rivals might appear. Subaru decides to train more so he will not feel weak in any area, as he wants to understand how much thunder power he can use with his current stats, and also test the real strength of the Thunder Heart. He knows practice is necessary because he is never going to give Toshiya's keepsake to anyone. As the scene shifts to the real world, a Blue Zone Guild member named Ginzaki appears, wearing neat and professional clothes while angrily talking through a communicator, complaining that people usually rush to Blue Zone when summoned. Yet this time he is forced to come himself just to meet a rookie. He feels insulted, believing thunder power is useless, and that some nobody on the 3rd floor is not worth his time. After arriving, he contacts the office and is greeted by John. Ginzaki sits down reluctantly while John offers him a drink and confirms his identity, explaining that Subaru is not present because he is busy with other matters. This angers Ginzaki, who mocks Subaru for being arrogant and prioritizing other things over Blue Zone, but John politely refuses to explain, saying the matter is private and Subaru's wishes have already been shared. Ginzaki accuses John of deliberately blocking the meeting to protect his valuable streamer. warning that Subaru would be better off joining a powerful guild instead of streaming. John remains calm and explains that top streamers can earn as much as high-ranked players, and Subaru is an important rising talent. When Ginzaki accuses him of making Blue Zone an enemy, John firmly states that the company always respects its streamers' decisions and will support Subaru no matter who pressures them. Ginzaki threatens consequences, but John calmly tells him that some people cannot be controlled by threats. As John's presence suddenly feels overwhelming, Ginzaki backs away in shock, warning that John will regret this, while John simply smiles and tells him that he is all talk and not truly frightening.